Okay, so again, I never know when I'm live, but it is nice to be streaming again. So, welcome back, folks. Today we're playing Risk of Rain 2 again. That's what I did last stream. It's a fun game for a Q&A for me because it's a game that I don't have to think about, so I can actually pay attention to things that are going on in chat, generally speaking. There's still a lot of stuff happening in the game. Oh boy, gotta love slowdowns. But it is easier for me to focus on it. Like, I don't have to think much when I'm playing the game. That is the words that I'm thinking of. Words are, in fact, a thing that I can imagine at times. But yeah, so, I am just now realizing that every single time whenever I stream, I don't think about anything to talk about for a little while. So I guess, for those of you who don't know what this game is, Risk of Rain 2 is a roguelike action RPG, I guess. Or no, it's not even, no, it's not an RPG, I don't know what I'm talking about. It is a game that is a roguelite. However you want to define it if you really care about genres of games like that. But basically you spawn into a stage, you run around, you kill enemies, you get gold for killing enemies, and oh, gotta love slowdowns. I don't like it. Those two are so quick back to back. But you get gold from killing enemies, or money from enemies, and then you spend it on items, and items scale infinitely. So, for example, the armor-piercing rounds I just got give plus 20% damage to boss enemies. Every single armor-piercing round I end up getting will stack, each one giving plus 20% damage. And you just go through a stage, then fight a boss, move on to another stage, potentially forever. And you just keep on going and going and going and going. And it's a very fun game. I missed that barrel? Huh. That is where we're going to be fighting the boss, but I want to loot the entire stage first because that's how I like to play the game. It'd be really useful if more enemies could spawn. That would be really appreciated. So the Treasure Vault, fantastic book. The Treasure Vault is full of items that I think are just neat. There's a couple that I feel are like potentially a little bit overtuned, but nothing is like overpowered, and most items I end up most items end up being like, oh, that is a really cool idea that I could base a character around that item. Just cool stuff. And okay, so a build threatening AOO besides fighter. There's a lot of ways. Okay, so most martial classes, excuse me, can get access to attack of opportunity in some way, or even if it isn't called explicitly attack of opportunity, it'll be a reaction that allows for you to attack people whenever it's not your turn. Like champions, barbarians, and maguses all get actual attack of opportunity as a class feat at level 6. And it's very good there. All of those characters can do really good stuff with attacks of opportunity. Like a barbarian with an attack of opportunity is probably going to do more damage per hit than a fighter. So then a barbarian with like a long spear or something, or a different reach weapon, that's really, really scary, and is going to get people to not want to provoke from you. Basically any melee character can make good use of AOOs, even if it isn't like technically attacks of opportunity. Like one idea that I've wanted to try out for a little while, really, is a plant, or a summoner with the plant Eidolon. So you just summon a like ridiculously sized Eidolon with a huge reach. But to sum things up, you can basically make Attack of Opportunity work with everybody. Fighters get the most feats that directly improve Attacks of Opportunity. Like level 10, they can get an additional reaction every round that can only be used for Attacks of Opportunity. But like, Attack of Opportunity is good enough that you don't need those feats for it to be a good reaction, right? Like, it's legitimately one of the better, or more just like, it's one of the most general reactions in the game of like, oh yeah, that's probably gonna go off every fight if you have a reach weapon. So you don't really have to so much build for it, but if you're playing from like level 1, the only character that truly has an Attack of Opportunity from level 1 is a fighter, although champion, like paladins, do get Retributive Strike, which is a way to attack someone when it isn't their turn. But like, that's not as general or easy to apply as an Attack of Opportunity, because they have to attack your ally first instead of just move or cast spells within your reach. Kind of related to Attack of Opportunity though, and related to the Treasure Vault, is the one feat that feels like, oh, that is, or not feat, one of the, there's an item that just feels really, really good, not necessarily in a bad way, just like, oh, that is a really cool idea for an item. I don't know how balanced it is, because I would have to actually play in a game where someone made good use of it, but the Tactician's Helm is very good. It's like a level 5 item that's like 100 and something gold, like 160, 120-ish. But it basically whenever you hit someone with an Attack of Opportunity, you get 1 charge, up to a maximum of holding 2 charges at once. And then as a single action, once an hour, you can use up a charge to basically give yourself a boost of some kind. So like, stride twice as 1 action once an hour. Because let's be real here, every fighter is gonna have at least 1 charge in there, because you're probably like, if you've got a reach weapon, you're gonna be making at least 1 Attack of Opportunity every combat, so you're always gonna have at least 1 charge in there. And that's just a really good item for like every fighter, and really anyone that has Attack of Opportunity that they can use somewhat often. Like my Swashbuckler, which was the first character I ever played, had Attack of Opportunity, and while they didn't use it like constantly, because they had like 7 different reactions, so a lot of the time they would use a reaction on Charmed Life to give themselves a boost on their saving throws. So then they wouldn't have it to do something else. They still got it off like once a fight. So really, Attack of Opportunity is really good. And anything that makes Attack of Opportunity better is really good. Especially for how cheap it is. Like, that's just surprising to me, how cheap the Tactician's Helmet is. Like, it could have been a level 8 item. Yeah, there's just so much cool stuff in the Treasure Vault that I want to, like, play and use with a character. As an example, the Armory Bracelet is a super cool idea for an item. It's a bracelet that has a bunch of different, like, charms on it that represent different weapon groups. So, like, there's a little sword on there. There's a bow on there. There's maybe a gun, depending on where you get the bracelet from. But once per day, you can pull a charm off and create any weapon from that weapon group. Oh, God. Gotta love... Okay, there we go. We're smooth again. But basically, once a day, you can pull off a charm and make any weapon from that weapon group, and it is a magical weapon. So you can say, hey, I really could use a bastard sword right now. Pull off the sword, it's now a bastard sword. And then you have a bastard sword for the rest of the day, but it's not gonna retain its magic all day long. That's super cool because, like, play a fighter, or, yeah, like, fighters would work. Really, actually, now that I think about it, any single class, like, any martial class could get some use out of that, because fighters are only really better with one weapon group than every other class in the game. So if you're using a variety of different weapon groups depending on your needs, then there's no actual real benefit to playing fighter. But anyway, I just want to play a character that uses an armory bracelet as their main weapon. Like, they just toss away their weapons after every fight and then make a new one for the next fight. Because there's so many cool weapons out there in the game now, especially with the treasure vault. There's like over 200 like base weapons in the game. But most characters only ever end up using one, or maybe two for, like, oh, well, they have a ranged weapon and they have a melee weapon. But that means that if you only are playing, like, maybe 2 PCs, then you're maybe using 4 weapons out of the 200 that there are. So I just want to be able to play a character that can pull out whatever the hell they want at any given moment and use it effectively. Mainly I would want to play with automatic bonus progression for a character like this, so I am not behind the curve by using an armory bracelet. But Gotta love green tea. Yeah, let's get some more Wungus. Gotta love incredibly consistent healing. How did you get up there? Yeah, I don't know. There's like, I'd like to try and at some point make a Nodachi based, I believe it's Nodachi, but there's like a new brace trait where you get a bonus on attacks after readying an attack. So it's based around like, oh, I'll wait until someone gets within reach, ready an attack to hit him, and then you get a bonus to hit, which is crazy on a fighter. But then building a character around that, getting multiple attacks, and there's a lot of cool stuff. I personally haven't played that many casters. I do think that casters are less powerful in 2e, but I don't think that that's a bad thing, because they're still dramatically more versatile than martial characters are, which is a really big upside, because if your only trick is beating things with a stick, there are going to be situations where you don't want to beat things with sticks, and it will really, really hurt to attempt that. And spellcasters don't necessarily have to. The thing with bards is that they always have a really good fallback option, that being, if a bard can cast Inspire Courage, then there's literally never a bad time to cast Inspire Courage. It is one of those spells where it's always good, and your party will always thank you. Or at least they should. Oof. Ow. Gotta love the slowdowns. Because my computer is not great. Some could even call it bad. I feel like if you're looking for a more, like, simple, or at the very least easy to pick up, spellcaster, maybe check out Psychic. Because Psychic is more focused on the focus spells and focus cantrips than other spellcasters. They have less spells per day, but they have generally really good, like, generally speaking, the Psychic focus spells are fantastic, and they have way more focus spells or focus points every day than most other characters. So that might be a bit up your alley if you're looking for something that isn't all that complicated, because, like, okay, cast, like, a boosted message to give your fighter an additional attack every round. Okay, yeah, that's good. It's not, like, basically, Psychics are, I would personally say, a little bit, simpler than other spellcasters. I don't necessarily know, like, objective power-wise, because I've only played a couple of sessions with one. So I don't have enough experience to say whether or not they're on the same degree of power. But just, like, about the whole, like, spellcasters being weaker, I really do think that the more accurate, descriptor is that they do dramatically worse damage. And that damage is simply the easiest way to mark effectiveness in a game like Pathfinder. Like, damage is just easy to figure out, like, oh, you do thing dies. Direct damage is just really easy to spot the impact of, but there are a lot of other ways to impact fights that spellcasters do dramatically better. You just can't cast the same thing on every enemy, because if you want to target a enemy's weak save, you want to have good spells for every saving throw. So you can't just cast Fireball, because if you fight somebody that's a good reflex save, you're not in a good spot. Best martial character for someone new to Pathfinder 2e. Generally, I would personally say that you can't really go wrong with basically any martial character or martial class from the core rulebook. Fighters are good for just high accuracy, so that will feel good for people because, oh yay, I get to hit shit. And, like, fighters are just very good. Not broken, but just good. Barbarian is probably the simplest overall character class. Because okay, a lot of the core rulebook classes, at least martial classes, make it very obvious what you're supposed to be doing with them. Like, for a barbarian, it doesn't take, like, a rocket scientist to figure out, oh, so I rage, and then I hit stuff really, really hard. Like, that's not that complicated. For Ranger, Ranger really isn't that complicated either. It's, okay, so I hunt a particular target, and then I attack that target. Yeah, there's a lot more complicated stuff there, like a precision ranger doesn't actually get any benefit for a very long time, for specifically targeting their prey for any attacks after their first in the round, because they only get their precision damage on their first attack. So, like, if you hit your prey, you can swing on someone else, and you're not missing out on precision damage. Basically, I don't think that there is any class that is wrong, or that would be a bad call for a new player. I do think that a lot of it depends on the player and what they're looking for out of the game. Like, basically, how tactically minded are they? Do they like trying to figure out, like, oh, like, are they someone who is interested in figuring out how, like, positioning and, like, all that works? Because Barbarian is very, very, okay, hit shit. You don't need to, like, think a huge amount about tactics. With Barbarian, the main thing going on is, hey, should I rage right now because it makes me easier to hit? That's mainly it. When, like, someone like a monk, monks have an incredible amount of flexibility with their action economy. So then you have a lot of abilities to do a lot of different things as a monk. You're never going to hit as hard as a barbarian, but you can, oh, well, maybe I'll run away from the enemy that I'm currently fighting so I can get over to this one, flurry of blows them, and then move into a flank with our rogue. If that's something that someone enjoys doing, then I think monk would be a good pick for him. My general suggestion is just, first time Pathfinder player, probably not any of the non-core rulebook classes, because those just start getting funky. However, if they are someone who's willing to read rules and try and figure out, oh, how does my character work best? If they're willing to do that, then you can make any class work. Just, if you're looking for a very simple, like, class, I don't want to say with, like, training wheels, but without, like, because that, saying that, like, Barbarian has training wheels or Fighter has training wheels feels insulting, when I'm really, really not trying to be. But, less moving parts to those classes when compared to something like a Swashbuckler. Swashbucklers, you have to figure out a lot of stuff to get them working really well. But when they do, they're great. What Slinger Way would Rango? I haven't seen Rango, so I am not at all a movie person, so I'm afraid I can't help you there. Really, can't see anything. Of course they spawn right after that goes down. Oh, ukuleles make it so much easier. Gotta love free AoE. Oh, and more ukuleles also makes it easier. Guess I won't turn that down. Oh, I've played with some people that don't really pay that much attention to rules, or will forget what their character does between sessions. And then their, like, Fighter and Barbarian are very straightforward of just, oh yeah, you rage and then you hit things, or you just hit things really well without having to, like, line things up. Less hoops to jump through. There is still absolutely complexity to those classes. It's just not inherent to their design. Like, for the record, my first class that I ever played in 2e was a Swashbuckler, and that was a ton of fun. It took me a little while to figure out, like, really what the flow of it was, because it was also my first 2e game, so I had to figure out how it is very different from Pathfinder 1st Edition in terms of, like, optimization and, oh, okay, so I don't get so good at something that it's basically guaranteed whenever I roll. Let's see. That's where that is. Yeah, a lot of people prefer rules light systems, or they just don't, like, some people just don't have a lot of, they don't remember. I've just played with a lot of people that just have to be reminded on how the game works after like a session or two, which I get, like, not everyone thinks about Pathfinder approximately 60% of their waking hours, but, and I'm not going to expect anyone else to do that, because, obviously. Oof. Gotta love lag. Yeah, no, like, there's an unfortunate amount of brain space, with me that is dedicated to Pathfinder rules knowledge. Like, I really don't need to have the, let's fill this up. I really don't need to have both the Pathfinder 1st edition and 2nd edition underwater combat rules memorized, but here we are. I never tried to memorize them. They just it just happened naturally. But then that also means that because I have both of them memorized, I get them mixed up. So I will 100% mix up rules between Pathfinder 1e and 2e. But basically, oh, hey there, bud. I didn't know you were here. I would really appreciate actually some other enemies around here. Oh, never mind. Don't have great damage for single enemies. Married though, I've got that. I really need to start like trying to be more intentional whenever I'm trying to make a joke, so it doesn't just sound like I'm completely insane. I guess it's maybe, yeah, and it's just that different classes have different, like, mechanical skill floors. Or to figure out what different characters and classes are good at. Oh. Gotta love slowdowns. But let's see. We're about to get to go here, I think. Yeah. Oh, that's a lot of mushrooms. Yeah, nothing here. So, then we still have the legendary chest, but that should come naturally with the teleporter. Striders, okay. Not terrible. In retrospect, I wish I picked up the missile launcher from the green chest instead of the ukulele, because I'd rather have one ATG and one ukulele than two ukuleles. I mean, I'd rather have two ukuleles than two missile launchers, but that's beside the point. Ukuleles are a fantastic item, but I can't set up rock chains currently. I don't think I can. Let's see. I would love for words to, like, make sense in my head so I can say them. But alas, words will never work in my head. So, there's the Mushroom Brigade. Actually, what are these called? I always just call them mini mushroom. Okay, I just call them mushrooms. But I remember most of the other names. Okay, I really hope that I actually have enough gold for that legendary chest, because I was not paying attention to the time. I mean, I would be surprised if it's more than 1.8k. Okay. Or 2.8. Okay, not terrible. I won't turn down double healing. But that was a weird voice crack. Okay, didn't seem like I missed anything up there. Okay. So that's a expensive chest. Probably one of the second most expensive chest types in the game, if you're even including legendary chests into that. Okay. Gotta love Sky Meadows. Like, unironically, this is probably my favorite map. But mainly for the music. Is there actually anything I want there? Yeah, I'll take the random green. Oh, there's a grandparent. Really nice if the shurikens are actually accurate long distance. Oh, stuttering. Okay, well, I'm sprinting most of the time, so that works. And it stacks with my other one. Let's see. 2 EPCs in an app, that basically is all the Pokemon's built in. So I'm assuming you're talking about Path Builder, because Path Builder 2E is incredibly good. Like, ridiculously good. I do not regret in the slightest, like, paying for it. I forget, some of the time, it has, you can find where some of the source books are from. This little guy just die already. They have so much health when it relates. Generally, I know that you can turn off sources for, like, you can turn off particular sources in Path Builder. I'm forgetting where it is. For the most part, like, so long as you're willing to try and, like, figure out what makes a particular class good, you can really make do with anything. I almost fell off there. Let's go and get that other chest. As I get completely focused onto specific chests rather than actually trying to get through the game quick. Okay, I tried to cancel the fall damage there, but lag. Okay, that wasn't worth it. I only have one way to light people on fire. Good item if you have other ways of lighting people on fire. Oh wait, I only have a single jump. Okay. For some reason I thought I had more. Yeah, basically, the non-core rulebook martial classes are, let's see, Investigator, Swashbuckler, Magus. I'm including Magus and Summoner are, like, 75% martial. Magus is really 100%, but, yeah, I include them. Then... next was Guns and Gears. Both Inventor and Gunslinger are martial characters. Then, Thaumaturge is a martial. And that's basically it. Those are all of the martials. In release order, basically. Let's see. Monk, I would say one thing that is good about, specifically Monk and Fighter, is that they are very open-ended. And open-ended as in they, that there's a lot of flexibility with how you play them on any given turn. Because, gotta love it. Okay, there we go. Basically, the way that you play Monk and Fighter is gonna be very different depending on, like, what is actually going on around you. Whenever, like, playing a Magus, you're basically fitting every combat situation. You're trying to solve it with the same thing of, so how do I get off as many spell strikes as I can? Because spell strike is really good. So I'm actually going to leave for this because I think I've had 2 runs that have died because of grandparents, and I don't want to make that another one. And I just really don't have the DPS to finish them off for that before I died. So now we can go back in and finish the grandparent. I'm learning patience. Oracle isn't. Oracle came out in the Advanced Player's Guide. And Oracle is a little bit complicated. They're not, like, hugely. It's just figuring out when to advance your curse. Like, when is the actual benefits of the curse better than the drawbacks. And then, of course, for different curses, that is either really easy or really hard. Okay, game, you wanna cooperate with me here? Okay, excellent. For example, like the Tempest Oracle, that its curse effect isn't that bad. I mean, yeah, it can be really annoying for literally everyone else. Okay. That we've won. So ceremonial daggers means that once I kill one thing, a bunch of daggers go out and attack other things. And if any of those enemies die, then, oh, guess what? Would you look at that? More daggers. One of the really good items of the game, so long as you have other items that actually make the daggers likely to kill. But like Tempest Oracle is just a, like, yeah, I can probably afford to be in in the curse state a lot of the time, when, like, Lore Oracle, probably not, because if you're like a high level Lore Oracle, you might be deaf, or not deaf, mute, as in you literally cannot communicate, or like slowed or stunned, or like, Lore Oracle has a lot of really bad effects in its curse, but that's because it has a lot of really good shit too. So that's the trade-off of Oracle that makes it complicated, is figuring out, it has a lot of moving parts. That's basically what it comes down to. Bards aren't that complicated because a lot of the time it's like, okay, do I need to move? No. Okay. Do I want to use a spell slot? If you do, cast that spell. If you don't, cast a cantrip. And then for your last action, cast Inspire Courage or your other composition cantrip of choice. Because the other ones are also really good, just Inspire Courage is the one that everyone gets. Nice to have you here, Hector. Just playing some Risk of Rain and chatting. This run is going very well, surprisingly, considering last stream they did not. All right. Okay. I don't, I guess I don't have enough, daggers, or not daggers, but like other effects yet for the daggers to wipe the entire map for me. Alas. Alas, I don't have an incredibly overpowered run. And I actually have to think about playing the game, what a shame. Not hard, but I do have to think. Oh, Risk of Rain it's really fun. Easily, it is my favorite, like... Risk of Rain, I would probably say, or specifically Risk of Rain 2. It's been a long time since I've played one. Like, I played one whenever it first came out. But it's my favorite brain-off game. Like, I haven't been doing it as much recently because I played it so much. But for a long time, Risk of Rain 2 was my... I need to do something while I... like, oh, I need to do something with my hands while I watch a YouTube video. Risk of Rain 2 was that game for me. Oh, I clipped through the map there. That is weird. That's only happened to me like twice ever in a couple hundred hours. You don't really need to, dig into, like, the meta of things. Because most of the time, you don't have a choice in what you get. There are just, like, some basic stuff you pick up of, like, oh, this item is generally really good, or this item generally isn't that impactful. There is a meta, but you don't have to interact with it if you don't want to. I do, but that's kind of because I am a little bit obsessed with this game. I can tell you far too many of the actual statistics for items. But yeah, let's get the Void Sent Flame. But for the most part, it's like I was about to give an example, but it's not great because I actually have a mod that gives me all of the exact statistics currently enabled. But let me try and give an example. So we have a ukulele. Literally in the main game, like in the normal unmodded version of Risk of Rain, the only thing that you know that the ukulele does when you pick it up, like the only descriptive text that it has in-game, oh, got it. I love playing a presentation. There we go. Like, the only thing that the game tells you about, the ukulele, whenever you first, like, pick it up, and if you don't want to, like, go into the, like, compendium and check exactly what it does on the title screen, is it just says, and his music was electric. That's it. And that's all you really need to know, because you'll figure out, oh, it does chain lightning. And that's good. You don't need to know that it has a 25% chance of triggering and attacking 3 enemies within a 20-foot radius, and that each additional ukulele allows for you to target, I believe, 2 additional enemies with increasing the radius that it will expand by 5 feet per uke. I'm pretty sure that's the exact numbers. 2 meters, not 5. You don't need to know that, because through playing, you will figure out what's good. And a lot of the fun of the game is figuring out what is good. I have like 500 hours, so like, I know what is good. But, like, you don't need to like look up guides for Risk of Rain. It's not that kind of game. I mean, you can, but you don't need to. Oh no. Not a good time to have my hand off my mouse. To drink some, good old-fashioned tea. Because Void Reavers can instantly kill you. Yeah, as much as this is like my favorite brain-off game, boy, does my computer not like it whenever I stream it. It does have co-op. It does not have competitive. Not really. I mean, it's like any game where there is multiplayer. There you can make it competitive, but there isn't like a built-in way. There's online multiplayer through Steam where you just, I mean, it's multiplayer. You're running around the same map, killing stuff and cooperating. The one thing that I will say is that I personally think the game is a lot harder whenever there's multiplayer. And I definitely don't think that the multiplayer is flawless. Because it scales enemies pretty rapidly. So you'll end up with like, oh, there are 2 players and there are 2.5 as many enemies. It absolutely can be fine, but it can get very uneven, where like one person gets a lot of movement speed items, so they move around the map faster, meaning that they get more of the items, which then just is a continues onwards forever, because they'll get more items, meaning that they do more damage, and they can move faster, meaning that then they get more items, and like, it's not a flawless multiplayer experience, but it is very fun. It's a lot of fun. Just mostly my experience with the game has been most of my experience has been single player. There are high scores. There is technically a I'm forgetting what it's called because it's been so long since I've done it. There's technically like a daily mission sort of game mode where it puts you into a I should have looked what the options were. But like there is technically a daily mode where you try and see who can do it the fastest and like with the best points and all that. But I hardly ever actually do that. There is Eclipse, which is a mode wherein you try and beat the game with additional difficulties. Most roguelikes have a game mode like that for a reason. I've not done very much Eclipse. I might do a stream on that, actually. But it's mostly just a silly game with ridiculous balancing. Where you just see ridiculous stuff happen because any game that scales infinitely is... Oh, there's a speedrunning scene for this game. I haven't watched many runs, but I know that there is one. I am not playing the right character. Loader is a silly character with a very fun grappling hook. That could allow for some really weird physics stuff that doesn't seem right. But there is, like, a final boss that you can try and keep on, like... Beating Mithrix is, I believe, the actual objective of the speedrun. There's probably multiple categories. But there is, like, a goal, but you can also just go forever. Which is probably what I'm going to be doing with this run, is just going until either my computer can't handle it anymore, or until I die. Or until I just decide, yeah, we're at the point where the game is actually playing itself. Let's start a new run. Which honestly, we're not far off from the game playing itself. But, okay, lasers are done. And now we can just focus a little bit on damage. Yeah, this is just a click buttons, release dopamine game for me. Lots of stuff happening on screen at every given moment, but maybe I could go for Mithrix. I mean, he would be kind of a joke at this point, but because normally you can get to him on normally you can get to Mithrix after stage 6, or sorry, after stage 5, and we're on stage 7. And while Mithrix does scale, if you're able to keep a run going, you're going to outscale Mithrix. Oh, yeah, no, I would not want to face my computer if it could talk to me and complain about what I do to it. I couldn't handle the judgment from my computer. One of these days it'll rebel. Oh, I was not expecting to get one of these. That's like a 1 in 4,000 drop chance. I'll take it, but so basically this item here is a use item. It is just it's an item that you can get that gives you an additional ability that you can use that's on cooldown. And the elite enemies, which are basically these guys, which each have a different like different effect. Like this one here is a Celestine. Oh, that's another game that I want to play on stream. That I would probably actually just do, like, how quickly could I beat it, because I beat Celeste pretty fast. But Celestine enemies have an invisibility field where everything around them is invisible. There are fire elites, ice elites. The Celestine enemies are just annoying. they're not that much more dangerous if you have any AoE, because then you can just kill everything else in the bubble anyway, and they have like 23 times as much health as you're seeing for how long it's taking me to kill this one guy. But there's like a 1 in 4,000 chance every time that you kill an elite that one of these drops. This is the fire, so the blazing elite version, which makes you into an elite. So I leave a fire trail wherever I walk now. Whenever I hit something, it gets a stack of burn. I sadly don't get the, like, 3 times damage buff that fire elites normally get. But that was definitely better than my previous use item, which was just like a gravity hole that I can toss out. I get way more use out of stacking burns, because I have an item that triples the amount of damage burns do, and so long as I continue applying burns, they never go away. So this really helps for big enemies by just making sure I have a constantly increasing DOT on them. And my single target damage, I would say, is currently the biggest weakness of the run. There's only a couple of items I would actually give this up for. That is not one of them. That one just allows for me to basically make a zip line, which isn't bad and can help you skip some pretty crazy stuff. But it doesn't help you kill things. And we're at the point of a run where the goal is to kill things very, very, very quickly before they can, like, one-hit kill me. One important thing about this game that I haven't mentioned so far in this stream is that in the top right, yep, don't want to voodoo doll, that triggers any items that have on-kill effects. I just toss it out and it causes on-kill effects like 4 times or 8 times or something. But that's not better than what I got. But up here, you'll see that there's a timer that's constantly going up. And then ha 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 below that. That's the difficulty, because the game constantly increases in difficulty over time. So we're currently not actually in the hardest difficulty. They just gave up naming them after a little while. the more accurate difficulty level is right next to it, where it says like, oh, it just went from level 45 to level 50. That is the level of the enemies. That goes up to level 99, and then once it gets to 99, first of all, you have a run that can get that far into the game, and therefore you've won. But because right now, yeah, they like that golem probably one of its attacks does more health than I have. You always have a one-shot protection in Risk of Rain, which you can actually see if you look at my health in the bottom left. There's this little shaded portion. If you are above 90% health and you take if you're above 90% health and then you take 90% of your health and damage, you stay at that one-shot bar. So basically, a hit cannot do more than 90% of your health in one hit. So technically, if that golem earlier did get a shot on me, I would be just barely not dead. I'm actually healing really quickly, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Yeah, it is a really nice mechanic. The problem is eventually whenever... Basically, the problem is normally in this game, if you're like paying attention and not being an absolute idiot, which has happened to me, the situations where you get hit, you probably get hit like 3 times in a quarter of a second, and each one does like 4 times your health. This is a glass cannon game. Very, very much a glass cannon game, which I like. There's a reason why I think legitimately one of the more significant tips that I've seen anyone give is never stop moving. Because if you stop moving, you're dead. This takes us to the point where we can obliterate, ending a run without having to kill a boss, and this takes us to the secret boss. But we're just gonna keep on going. We are in true silly territory yet. This stage has little eggs that you can break for a secret boss, which we're totally doing. It's not that much of a secret, because you're almost certainly going to accidentally destroy the eggs. It's not hard to do. They break in one hit, and they're everywhere. Let's see. Let's kill the blazing Elder Lemurian. Oof. Yeah, I almost died there. That's the thing. Like, because I got burned, which is, really bad. Because it lasts for a really long time, does a lot of damage, and then I got some other hits on me. Yeah, that could have been, dramatically worse. Fortunately, it didn't, but, let's see. Really, there are more, oh my god, what are these called? Wandering Vagrants. Damn it. I just started thinking of them as big jellyfish at some point, so I forgot what they're actually called. Yeah, but they have a big, like, blow-up move whenever they're below 25% health, and, yeah, that would do way more than enough damage to almost kill me. Actually, now that I think about it, perhaps a good way of describing the bouncing of this game is that it is a bullet hell both for you and the enemies. And whoever's bullet hell scales faster, is the one who will win. And here we go. Ally worship unit time. where we're just getting bleeds on this poor, not bleeds, burns. Normally you do this with bleeds. I mean, we're getting some bleeds, but not nearly as many as the 100% chance of applying a burn. Right? Wait, no. Do they make it so burn doesn't last forever? Or is the time on it just really tight? No, burn doesn't last forever. Huh, I got that wrong. There almost certainly are flying squids in 2E. I know that there were, like, eldritch horror flying squid things in 1E that were, like, denizens of the, like, oh, what is it? It's the Dark Curtain? The Dark Tapestry. But there were things there. The only thing I really remember about them is that they, were like vulnerable to sonic damage. Because they came from an area without noise, so they were weak to sonic. Which was weird, but, like, it stands out in my memory because nothing is weak to sonic. Sonic is just an outlier. It's a weird energy type. But they're less, from my memory, they're less squid creature and more just a ball of tentacles that doesn't have an end or a beginning. Because, like, weird, like, alien thing from beyond space. Would you count, like, a Golthu as flying squid creatures? If they cast a fly spell on themselves. Okay, I have to think about the game even less now. Tesla Coil just does damage to everything that is nearby every 10 seconds for, like, 10 seconds. Oh, come on, game. Let me pick up the medkit. I really don't need to be as thorough about looting right now, but it's ingrained into my bones. Oh, I love the Hounds of Tendalos. Easily one of my favorite, like, 2E and 1E monsters. Just yeah, they are, like, associated with acute angles, and they are really powerful when near acute angles. Is so incredibly weird. We're actually in one of the games I'm in. If you know what AP this is, don't tell me anything. Or don't tell me anything about what is even going on with it. But there's a Hound of Tendalos that is effectively hunting us throughout an entire dungeon that I feel is a unique Hound of Tendalos. But it's great because it's like, oh, it knows where we are at all times, and it will appear in any of the combats that we're in if we're vulnerable and near a cornered surface. Which is really cool. It's just, like, so good as, like, a what the heck is even going on here? And then the whole lore of what is Tendalos. Everyone agrees that Hounds of Tendalos are called Hounds of Tendalos, but nobody is capable of knowing who or what or will be Tendalos. I think that there was some lore. I think it was like a one-off thing mentioned in some 1E book. Oh, it's Outlaws of Alkenstar. Outlaws of Alkenstar has something going on with some weird time shenanigans. I don't know what it is because I'm the player in this situation, but there was some one-off, like, just offhand mention in some 1E book. It might have been like Planar Adventures or something like that, where I think there's a city or ruins or something in the dimension of time that supposedly has a book with, like, the details, the exact details of the ends of the world, but it's impossible to get to. or something. It's just some weird, like, wait, Paizo, what? Why did you include that? There's so much stuff that Paizo just puts into the Lost Omen setting that is so cool, but at the same time is like, oh, I know you're just putting that there, so in case someone wants to end up reading, like, this book and then decides to use that as a plot hook. Like, oh, we need to go, like, I don't know, plot hook, find a way into the dimension of time and destroy the book, thereby preventing the end of the world, because the book that decreed it will happen no longer exists. Like, that's a cool idea for a homebrew campaign. But at the same time, I keep on seeing all these things in Galarian, and I'm like, but I wanna an AP about that, Paizo. The biggest one easily for me is Ibelidos. Ibelidos is now by far now my most wanted region to get its own AP. Oh, okay, actually just got one of, if not the best item in the entire game. That's game changing. That being the 57 leaf clover, which whenever there is a % chance of something happening, if it doesn't happen, if a good thing has a % chance of happening doesn't happen, it rolls again. And if something bad has a chance of happening to me, and it happens, you roll again. Which means that, like, the 25% chance of the ukulele that I mentioned earlier is now, what, like, about a 50% chance, because 75% of time not happening times 70%. It's something where it's about, I can do the math, it's, what, 9/16 of the time it'll happen? Or no, it's 7/16 of the time it'll happen, instead of 1 in 4. It's a very good item, considering it works with literally all of my items all of the time. Yeah, no, it's just advantage on every single roll. Which is really good when, like, half of the items in the game are based on random chance. Especially when you take into account... Wait. Okay, got it. He's not doing his AoE thing. That means I can actually kill him now. But, like, Ibelidos is so fun. Ibelidos is I believe it's in Casmeron? Like, it's to the east of the Inner Sea in Avestan. Avestan. Like, game. Thank you. It's the Greek equivalent for Galarian, where, like, Osirian is incredibly obviously inspired by, like, ancient Egypt. Ibelidos is pretty obviously inspired by ancient Greece. But not remotely as on the nose as Assyrian. As in, the Greek gods don't exist. Which, I forget who. It might have been James Jacobs, it may have been Jason Bowman, I'm forgetting who. But someone did say that they're not going to be doing that again, like they did with Assyrian, where it's literally just a real-life pantheon. Because, wow, could he have guessed it? People still actually worship those gods, and maybe directly putting them into your game doesn't always work out. Instead, you can just, like, take inspiration. But Ibelidos is ruled by, like, divine demigods that have to undergo trials to gain their, like, divine mythic sort of abilities. And it had strong ties to the Cyclopean Empire, which stretched over, like, all of Casmeron, I think? And that's where Bahamut was born. Because, like, and it's the birthplace of all Minotaurs. And it's just like, oh, but I would love, like, a 1 to 20 AP in Ibelidos where they reintroduce mythic rules. Because, like, it is one of the only places in the setting where mythic characters are just like a thing, because there's some kind of ridiculously powerful magic going on in Iblidos where like there's just a process to become mythic. It's so cool. Also, they have leviathans that they sacrifice people to so they don't destroy their islands. There's so much cool shit in Iblidos. Oh no. I don't know where I'm gonna end up after this. Well, good thing that whenever I came back from the lag spike, everything was dead. Just, Iblidos is easily, like, my top adventure path that I want. Outside of maybe, I don't know what's going on exactly with, like, Gebin Nex and Bloodlords, because I still don't know if I would want to GM that, or if I would want to be a player in that. But, like, I would love something specifically related to dealing with, that conflict. I don't know if it's going to come to some kind of resolution in Bloodlords. It may have already done so. No, it would have already done so. The entire AP is out. But, because that's just a cool conflict that I think is interesting. But I doubt that they're going to go back to the Impossible Lands soon for APs, because there was already 2, with Bloodlords and Outlaws Falconstar. So then, I want another. I either want a Darklands AP. Like, there was some Darklands stuff with Abomination Vaults, but it wasn't much. Like, I want something, like, really dwarven, you're going all the way down sort of deal. Because then you can also deal with some Rovagug stuff, which is fun. Or I want an Iblidos AP. And this is something actually else, now that I'm just thinking about Rovagug. It is shocking to me how infrequently cultists of Rovagug show up in adventure paths. It's always like, oh, here's a little, like, a murderer cult of Norgorber and the Skinsaw Man. Or it's a cult of Lamashtu, or a demon lord, but it's never Rovagug. Like, I get that, like, Rovagug as a deity, like, hardly anyone worships him for very good reasons. But, like, Rovagug is such a cool antagonist. Like, I just like for there to be a Rovagug AP, now that I think about it. Because, like, there's some really interesting lore that I feel like Paizo put out, again, as like a, here's a little tidbit for GMs. Ooh. No. That right there was the actual best traditional equipment in the game. But I like actually being able to use the Ifrit's Distinction for once. Because it's a 1 in 4,000, you can never guarantee that you'll have it. Where the Royal Capacitor is dramatically more common. Yeah, I could really use an ATG. That would be game-changing. Because it would make it so I would be shooting out missiles constantly that would take care of things everywhere on the map. Oh yeah, the thing that I was gonna mention as like a, yeah, it feels like Paizo just put it in there for GMs to have, like, more stuff to do with Rovagug and, like, plot hooks and all that. But specifically, part of the seal on the Dead Vault, where Rovagug is being kept, is that there are a bunch of, like, pillars? I think they might be called sky pillars? Something pillars. that exist out in Galarian. There's like 7 of them or something that are Keeling Rovagug sealed. And that would be such a cool idea for an AP, is stopping that from happening. Obviously, you need some kind of lore reasoning for why, if the PCs fail, Rovagug doesn't get unleashed, because if you don't, then you have the problem of having to figure out what happens if Rovagug gets unleashed, which is the end of Galarian. But I just think it'd be a cool idea. That, or just like, I'm forgetting its name, but there was a Scar something where Sarenrae absolutely obliterated a city from like orbit and left I think it's the Chasm of Gormuz. It's a city of Gormuz that once were Sarenrae worshippers, and then they started worshipping over a long period of time Rovagug, and then Sarenrae almost destroyed the empty vault by smiting the city, and that's where all of the spawn of Rovagug have come from, is they've come out of that hole. That could be a really cool, like, adventure where, for some reason, we need to get to the bottom of the pit of Gormuz. Good luck going through the most dangerous, or one of the most dangerous places on Galarian. That would just be cool. And nice to see you, Sir Nerdalot. Had to take a little while to parse that, because I just see letters. I'm talking Pathfinder lore. In terms of like books or, I have not read like many books to learn Pathfinder lore. A lot of it is just basically every game that I play is set in Galarian. So and most of the games that I play are APs. So I just end up picking it up because like half the groups that I play in are fucking Pathfinder nerds. And so like I just pick it up purely by osmosis. I also listen to a couple of different actual play podcasts that are doing adventure paths. I say a couple, in reality I just mean every single podcast that Find the Path puts out. And they are also huge Pathfinder nerds that just casually drop information, and that gets me looking at a wiki, and then eventually I just slowly pick it up over time. If you are specifically looking for lore information related to, like, say, Sarkoris and the World Wound and demons and stuff, then like, there is a fair amount of lore included in the, oh god, Wrath of the Righteous, oh my god, Wrath of the Righteous video game. However, that isn't like a wiki or anything, it's just a story that takes place in Mendeleev and Old Sarkonis and the World Wound fighting a lot of demons, so naturally it includes a lot of stuff, but it isn't like a detailed deep dive. I know that there are channels on YouTube that do deep dives into Galarian lore. I have honestly considered making some of my own, because I can ramble about lore in this game for so fucking long. I would generally suggest, in terms of like, to get a summary of Galarian lore, there are like, there's a lot of good YouTube channels out there. Yeah, for the Forgotten, getting Catfolk Dark Vision, the only way immediately off of the top of my head that I can think for getting Dark Vision on a Catfolk, if there isn't just like a feat for it, it's been a long time since I've looked at Catfolk feats. Or not been a very long time, but I have a bad memory for some things. Gotta keep incredibly obscure rules lore, so I can't memorize every catfolk feat. Just a couple. The other way that I can think of is getting it from a class, or more specifically an archetype. Like, if you're going for a, if you want to go, oh my god, another 57 leaf clover. Now I roll 3 times to see if good or bad things happen to me. I just need a missile launcher and the entire run is over. Then, oh yeah, if you're going for like a really shadow-themed character and you are planning on being a spellcaster, the Shadowcaster gets access to dark vision, and at some point I think they get greater dark vision, or that might actually only be if you already have dark vision. But a versatile heritage would give it to you at level 1. There's always the kind of silly option of adopted ancestry into an ancestry that has a level 1 ancestry feat that gives you dark vision. That's a silly option that necessarily wouldn't work, but yeah, if you're looking for yeah, no, like the sharp-eared catfolk is really cool for the free, like, point out. Like, really the main things that I can think of are trying to adopted ancestry. I think elves have a feat that give, elves, I believe, have a feat that gives dark vision. So you could technically have, let's see, words. Now we're at the point where, like, a touch from an enemy will kill me, so I'm trying to be careful. I will probably be ending the run shortly because, again, this is a run that currently, every enemy dies on spawn, or it dies in 3 seconds. You could have dark vision without giving up a heritage at level, blah, blah, 5, jeez. By taking adopted ancestry elf at level 3, and then, whatever the elf feat is that gives them dark vision at level, 5? You would just have to, like, I think it's Gloomseer. I believe that's its name. Oh yeah, Cat's Eye Elixir is also a good way. And Goggles of Night. Goggles of Night is really the easy answer for everyone who wants to get it, but you have to wait a while for it. The one thing about ancestry feats that give dark vision is you're gonna have to talk to your GM about how you're going to get a potentially biological effect on from being adopted. I think it is incredibly reasonable for catfolk to have a way to get dark vision, though. The easiest thing, by far the easiest way to get dark vision as a catfolk, is if you're not in Pathfinder Society, asking your GM and say, hey, is it alright for us to homebrew in a level 1 ancestry feat that gives dark vision? Because a lot of other ancestries have access to a feat like that, and I'm playing a cat, which, like, cats can see in the dark very well. So, like, I think that is exceptionally fair for, like, a homebrew. That is, like, grade A homebrew material in my eyes. Yeah, I'm just now seeing, Sir Nerd a lot, that you responded because, I was thinking too much about niche ways to get dark vision. I think that should be enough, I think. Nah, let's cap our crit. Let's guarantee it, even though I have enough 57 clovers to basically have guaranteed crit. And that's 9. So technically I currently have a 101% crit chance, I think. 102.97 apparently, according to the HUD over here. But regarding actual play podcasts, I started the first ever actual play that I listened to was the GCP, which is also like the biggest 2E podcast, or not 2E, biggest Pathfinder podcast. I don't necessarily, I can't say with like, oh god, am I going to die here? That would be really unfortunate to die at the literal last second. But the GCP is pretty good. I can't necessarily recommend it. Well, or at least if I'm talking specifically about their 1E like mainline show, because one, I didn't finish it. I fell out of the habit of listening to it in quarantine, and also that it is very much a situation of like, I'm not like trying to bash the guys, but when you get a bunch of dudes and then put them in a room and have them talk for like an hour, you get a lot of dude culture stuff, and I know that a lot of people aren't a big fan of dude culture stuff. Of just like stereotypical male nerd shit, which is basically, if you get a bunch of middle-aged New Yorkers, that's not a very diverse set of people. That's one reason why I like Find the Path, because like, hey, look at that, there's actually women involved. Huh. All of a sudden, representation of women gets a lot better. Who could have thunk it? Okay, now I want to go again. Now I'm not going to actually end the run here, because I got a missile launcher and 3 clovers. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. But it's not very often you get a run this good when you aren't using command to pick all of your items. Yeah, like, I forget, this might be something that you're interested in. There is a community, I forget who runs it, but there is a community spreadsheet for tracking Pathfinder actual plays. It's not like 100% updated or always the most accurate thing in the world, but it's like one guy running it, so like I can't blame him for not always immediately updating things whenever there's any changes. But I really cannot recommend Find the Path enough. They have a Mummy's Mask AP that's finished, like that is done. That's first edition. Then they have a War for the Crown actual play that's going on right now. I have not actually been keeping up with that because I got out of the podcasting habit whenever they took a break between shows. But that's also Pathfinder 1E, and I've heard a lot of very good things about that. I'm kind of just stockpiling episodes for a long car ride. So I can just listen to like 12 episodes back to back. Then they have a 2E podcast for Hell's Rebels, so a conversion of the 1E AP Hell's Rebels, and on Patreon they have a Tyrant's Grasp AP that is incredible. Easily, in my opinion, their best show. Just very, very good. And the big things that I would say is, one, they feel like they all actually like each other, which is very good, and also not surprising considering there are 2 married couples. And they are also ridiculously experienced with 2E, or Pathfinder in general. Like, before they started the Mummy's Mask podcast, they'd all finished like 3 or 4 adventure paths each, with Rick, the GM, having finished running like 12, which is absurd. Like, how the hell do you finish that many APs? So they just really know their shit, and they are good people. So, yeah. I really, I cannot. I was a day one patron of theirs, so I've been listening to them for like 4.5 years. Fucking love them. If you can just Google Find the Path podcast or find-path.com. Big fans. They're not like huge. I've also heard a lot of good things about Hideous Laughter. That they're apparently pretty good. I haven't really been able to get into them because they do have a lot of like drinking culture in theirs, and I just don't drink. I don't get that as much. But I've heard a lot of really good things about them, and I don't doubt that they are really good. Just they aren't my kind of show. And also, GCP is really good for comedy. Like, holy shit, some of the hardest I've ever laughed was the GCP. To the point where I would almost say that is the selling point of the show over, like, the story, is just, oh my god, are these people good comedians who are able to tie in mechanics with funny shit. But back to reading chat. Let's see. Kingmaker assuredly has multiple actual play podcasts. Like that podcast, that spreadsheet that I mentioned earlier that has actual plays probably has like 8 for Kingmaker. Kingmaker is one of the most popular Pathfinder 1 EAPs, and it just got a 2E conversion. There are absolutely actual plays out there. Also, I am actually going to take the executive card now that we are, which is the actual best equipment in the game because it allows you to get more items. It discounts all of the prices on every item and also allows you to get every item from multi-shops instead of only being able to get one of the 3 that are shown. You just get to buy them all, which is a ridiculous improvement. Alchemist, I don't actually know if they have the worst in the game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's bad. I will say that in terms of overall, like, will save numbers, a lot of characters don't get better than expert. Like, a lot of classes just don't get better than expert. Like, the example I was about to give was Fortitude. Like, I'm assuming Barbarians probably also don't have a... No, Barbarians probably don't have a good reflex. But there are... They probably don't have... Yeah, like, here I was able to get 3 items instead of 1. It is a absurdly good item that I didn't take on the last stage because I thought I wasn't going to be looping. But and lighting everything on fire is also pretty fun. But now I've committed to this run being a how stupid can this get run. So now priorities have changed. How have I not accidentally triggered the boss yet? Like, okay, there we go. Like, there's no way that I haven't destroyed enough eggs by accident with how many projectiles are on screen. Domain level? I don't. Yeah, but basically I don't know, I can't exactly answer if they have the worst in the game because I don't know what levels they increase or what every class increases. The only class that I know that for is that, like, Swashbuckler, because they're the only class I've actually played from 1 to 20. So I actually got every saving through upgrade on a Swashbuckler. Oh, I almost died there. I used up, one of the elixirs of life. But yeah, I don't know what domain level means. Um, I'd look it up, but currently I am fighting for my goddamn life here. Oh yeah, the travel guide is a really good, like, purely, like, lore book that I've heard so many good things about. It's just like day-to-day life sort of talk instead of the more explicit, like, kingdom scale sort of stuff that is in other Lost Omens books, where it's like, oh, Lost Omens Tianjia, that's going to be all about Tianjia and, like, the world and the entire ridiculously sized continent. Which I have since thought about that a little bit more. It is still a ridiculous, Tianjia is still ridiculously big, because, like, Tianjia is about as wide as Africa is tall. Like, Africa is about 5,000 miles north to south, and Tianjia is about 4,500 east to west, and then, like, 9,000 north to south. But when you compare it to Asia, it's not as crazy. But also, that's dramatically more difficult to measure, because where Asia and... it's harder to measure Russia, or not Russia, basically Russia, for North and South in Asia. But yeah, it's still a really, really big continent. But the travel guide has a lot more basic down-to-earth sort of, like, what do people actually think? Like, how does the world work? Because there's all of this crazy shit about, like, divine stuff, but, like, normal people don't care about that. Normal people probably don't even know that. Yeah, no, like, really, the travel guide is a book that most players are probably not going to buy, but it is fantastic for immersion within Galarian as a setting. So it's really good if you're the kind of person that doesn't want to, like, come up with time zones. I'm not certain if they have time zones, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if they have time zones in the World Guide, but, like, that level of detail is not something that everyone wants to go out there and try and make, and World Guide has a shit ton of it. It also has recipes, if that's what you're looking for. It is also a cookbook. And, like, descriptions, I'm assuming it has more actual descriptions of what kind of food exists and people traditionally eat in areas than it does actual literal recipes, because recipes take up more room than saying, these are the kinds of spices that are common in this area. But I've heard a lot of really good things about it. I don't have it because I am only currently on the Lost Omens, or I'm only on the rulebook subscription for Pathfinder, not the Lost Omens line, which I would like to change, but I'm going to be waiting until, like, I can make more money from this channel to be able to justify spending money on that instead of, like, food. Yeah, in case you haven't seen the video that I put up today, I have turned on memberships for the channel. I decided against Patreon purely for the convenience of, a little bit of lag there. That wasn't actually computer dying lag. That was just a lot of particle effects. Let's see. Now that that is dead, I can actually think a little bit. Okay. So, optimizing for exploration, for taking Overwatch Scout. So in terms of optimizing for exploration, one thing to maybe keep in mind if you're already considering taking Overwatch or Scout is think about maybe taking Horizon Walker instead. This Horizon Walker is really, really good if you're going to be doing a lot of exploration. Just double check beforehand with your GM if you're going to be predominantly within one type of terrain, because all of the Horizon Walker's abilities are, until like level 10, are focused around one kind of terrain. So if you're like traveling all over the place before level 10, you aren't going to be able to use your cool abilities as much. But it is, like, I would say the best way in the game to be like a terrain and exploration expert, especially if you have free archetype, because there are hardly any feats in the Horizon Walker that actually make you better at fighting things and saving your own life whenever you're being attacked by a dragon. So it's really good for free archetype, because it doesn't make you objectively stronger, it just makes you way, way better at exploring the world. And it is very good once you get the feat where you can spend an hour to change your favorite terrain, because then it's like, oh shit, I can actually use my as long as we're not in a city, you can use all of the like movement speed buffs and ignoring difficult terrain and ignoring certain damage types that you can get from Horizon Walker. You can use that all the time instead of just some. Now where's the teleporter? I should have been paying attention. Where are those little specks? That's there. Okay. Let's see. Like in a wilderness, like in a Kingmaker style of game, Horizon Walker's fucking great. Because you're doing exploration, you're moving around, you can help everyone in your party move faster. But in Agents of Edgewatch, it kind of sucks because urban isn't a terrain in 2E, so you aren't going to be able to really ever use any of the feats. It was one of the first archetypes I ever did an archetype review on, and I've wanted to play a character with it ever since. I just haven't had the kind of campaign where I think they would shine. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Domain level? Oh, domain level play. Oh, got it. Yes, Kingmaker does have kingdom building mechanics. Oh god, I got a charge perforator. Now, what chance do I currently have of that triggering? Oh, it doesn't actually tell me based on the, okay. Don't have that mod, but I can do the math. It's gonna be about, what, like, 72% chance? So then 28% chance of triggering the lightning strike on every single hit? I'm probably going to be actually obliterating after first chance I get, because I actually don't think my computer can take running this level of game and stream. But nice having you here, Sir Nerdalot. It's been fun. Got a lot of good questions. Yeah, Kingmaker does have kingdom building mechanics. I haven't actually read them to see exactly how they play. I know that they were a little bit messy in Pathfinder 1E. Just purely by association, I hadn't read them there either. But there is, like, kingdom management, sort of like infrastructure building. It isn't so much like design your castle as it is, so what buildings do you want to try and build first for this settlement, to get different bonuses for, like, managing how much. Do you want this settlement to be more commercial, or do you want it to be more defended? That kind of kingdom management. I haven't read the rules for 2E, but that's basically what it was a bit of in Pathfinder 1E, so that is my expectation. There's also, I believe, mass combat rules in Kingmaker. So presumably there's also stuff for getting, like, armies. Again, haven't read it. Purely taking guesstimates here. Okay. Yeah, we're also getting to the point where my movement speed is too high. I'm too fast to super accurately control my movement. Which is a good problem to have. And this is also not remotely the worst I've ever had it. I've been like 5 times as fast before. At least walking on slightly bumpy ground doesn't send me into orbit. Yeah, like, I guess I could see, like, going back a long way in the stream. I could see the Paizo not including, like, Rovagug APs, because the god, like, all the other, no, not all the other, every other deity basically would get involved, but, there are ways of doing it, like, oh, this won't free Rovagug, but it will, like, help Rovagug's influence affect the material plane more, but it's not severe enough for a lot of the good deities to get involved. Thank you, Hector. Holy shit. Thank you. Finally got around to doing that. So, something that I mentioned in the video today where I announced that it was a thing, is that I made like $50 from this channel in the past month, and 10 from live streaming. Just so you know, Hector, you were all of that 10. But... yeah, I just decided to go for the, like, membership over patrons, just so it's convenient and people, from personal experience, I'm more likely to remember that I can support people if it's immediately there whenever I'm, like, looking at their content. So that's that, and just that I am lazy, and sometimes I need to take the easy way of doing things, or otherwise they don't get done. That is also important. But, I don't know, Rovagug is just really cool, and he never shows up, and I want to see him more. I guess another kind of AP that I would like to see, now I'm just on AP talk, is a, more, like, Outer Planes, sort of. Not necessarily Outer Planes. Actually, no. I wanted an Elemental Planes AP. We haven't had one since, God, what is that one called? It's... Oh, it was, like, one of the first ever, like, Pathfinder APs. It may actually be AP 4? After, It's not Dark Sun. It's after the Riddleport one where you deal with a lot of drow. But it's in Katapesh. It's like a genie AP. What is that called? Regardless, that one had to do with a lot of genies and djinn and all that. So it had a lot of ties to elemental planes, but I want to see a I would kill for, not literally of course, but I would love for a AP about the elemental planes, especially. And now this might be asking for too much here, but we are going to have a total of 6 elemental planes after the Rage of the Elements comes out. And maybe a 6-book AP with 1 book in each plane would be really cool. I have no idea how the hell it would work. Legacy of Fire, that's it. I know that one had, like, some association with elemental planes, but it's been a really long time since we've had, like, a story more focusing on elementals and other elemental plane beings. And there's just so much cool shit in the elemental planes. And they're just really good opportunities for set pieces. So I would just love to see it. Like, book 1 probably would be Plane of Fire, based on the... No, probably be Plane of Earth, actually. Earth, I think, is the easiest one for low-level characters to be able to survive in. Because, like, fire is really, really hot. But, like, oh, so Plane of Fire, Plane of Air, then maybe water with some way of getting permanent, or, like, just water breathing, then Plane of Air, then wood, then metal or something. Like, that could be so cool. Elemental Lords are really interesting. Especially since we're gonna be getting a lot more with Rage of the Elements. I'm forgetting their name, but one of the evil Earth Elemental Lords is a fucking, like, dinosaur fossil. How could you not love it? The problem with, like, a Horizon Walker focused AP is, like, if you're literally talking about the Horizon Walker archetype, is that for, like, up until, like, level 12 or something, they are very much, you do one terrain really well. And then after that, they do every terrain really well. But until then, it's like, eh. Then that's just, like, Kingmaker. Or, actually, no, that's, oh, what is it? It's, Iron Fang Invasion. Iron Fang Invasion would be my example of a Horizon Walker AP, because, like 80% of it is set in a forest. So you would get a lot out of Favored Terrain Forest, and abilities that make you better at running around in forests. Like, literally running around, because it's the guerrilla warfare AP. So something like that could be interesting. Oh, got it. No, Horizon Walker, I've heard, like, there is almost certainly something similar, with, like, Portal Walker, Gate Walker, something. There's almost certainly, I'm thinking of some archetype for Ranger and 1E that was all about, like, interplanar rifts. It may be Rift Warden, but something like that. There's definitely, like, interplanar explorers in the Lost Omen setting, and focusing on that for an AP would be cool. And if you really wanted to get extreme, as in, like, I don't know how you would be capable of doing this with, like, a level 20 party, there's always a lot of really cool demi-planes to explore. Like, hey guys, let's go and explore the, like, John Delay. And die, because it's John Delay. And you don't want to fuck with the Oliphant of John Delay. The thing that whenever you bring it from John Delay creates, like, a 1d10 month-long cataclysm storm in 1e with a radius of 100 miles because it gets dragged from its dimension. Gotta love it. And thank you, Cinetic? Cintiq? Cinetic? A pronunciation that I am most likely not getting correct, but thank you. Like, seriously, holy shit. Really, John Delay's just really... John Delay's cool. Like, there are only, like, a couple of actual living creatures there, because everything else gets killed by the John Delay, because it really hates John Delay. And one of the only other actual residents of Jondelay are, I believe, Watchers, which are freaky, in a good way. They're like gargantuan. I think they have like 6 legs. They're kind of insecty, also not insecty. But the main thing that they have is that they're unnoticeable. They're not invisible. You simply don't notice them. They manipulate your attention, so they are like background noise, which is how they survive around the Elephant of Jondelay. It automatically fails on its perception check against them. So they just go around and manage the elephant. Or, sorry, they manage Jondelay, which, by the way, Jondelay is a, if I'm remembering correctly... Ugh. Computer is struggling. If I'm remembering correctly, Jondelay is, like, a mausoleum of worlds. So it automatically, whenever, for any reason, like, a world of the material plane is destroyed for any reason, it is in a way like saved and stored in Jondelay, which is a really cool idea for a demiplane. And the Watchers like manage it. It's weird. It's like on the edge of the maelstrom, so it's right on the edge of absolute utter chaos. But it's a lawful neutral demiplane. It's the Elephant of Jondelay is chaotic neutral, but also created Jondelay by accident. It is a prison of their own making. It's just cool shit. There's lots of really cool demiplanes that I would like to see explored, and I probably won't see explored in official works, because a lot of those, like, I feel like Jondelay and like the Akashic Record, those definitely came from somewhere else, and that they're a part of the system as well. So focusing an entire AP on that may be a little bit suspect, but yeah, like one of the Rune Lords, it may have been, oh, now I'm forgetting his name. Most recent Rune Lord of Greed, Hormaz? Oh, like, it is an incredibly finely kept library of worlds, Silver. It's very finely kept. It just also has, like, a resident kaiju that is really pissed about it existing. It's like an archive of destroyed realities that is archiving them for the sake of archiving. It just has a really upset owner. But it is very, like, antithetical, because it's right next to the Maelstrom. But one of the Rune Lords, I believe the... Horez? Horez? I'm for... Karzug, the fucking Rune Lord of Greed. Karzug is the Rune Lord of Greed. He's not anymore, because I think, and pretty much every single time that someone played Rise of the Rune Lords, they kill Karzug. But the previous Rune Lord of Greed, I believe, tried to summon the Oliphant and, like, destroyed multiple islands. Because you don't summon him. Oh, you're a 20th level wizard? Cool shit. You're dead. He's like a CR 30 creature in 1E. The Tarrasque is CR 25. If you're thinking about, like, demiplanes that are related to information, the Akashic Record is really cool. The Elephant is kind of... If my memory serves, I recently went on a ramble about this to one of my groups. So, one of the groups that I'm in. So, this is all somewhat recent in my brain from reading through the wiki, but I believe the Elephant is literally tied to the plane. So it is like, you can remove it. It is very difficult, you can do it. but it's like it has a permanent, like, bungee cord, like planar bungee cord attaching it to Jondelay. So the longer you try and keep it away for, the worse it's gonna be whenever it goes back. Also, it's kind of permanently pissed off. Like, it is very much like a, yeah, no, this is just gonna kill you because it's upset at the world kind of creature. Like, you don't reason with the Tarrasque. Like, really, the Elephant is... Honestly, I feel like it's more accurate to call the Elephant on, like, demigod territory than it is kaiju. Like, it is an extraplanar entity that kind of spontaneously manifested itself. Like, it's a big fucking deal. Oh, but Hector, if you're thinking about, like, demiplanes related to information, the information demiplane is the Akashic Record. Which is basically kind of like a Library of Babel situation, where it contains all information from past, future, and present. It is also almost impossible to get into. And the thing is, there's so much information that you literally cannot perceive it all, so you get... Even if you do get there, you get shown what it wants you to know. And it's, like, hypothesized to be the most reasonable, theory for functional time travel, because it has information for all of reality. Theoretically, that means it has access to all of reality at the same time, so you can go into the Akashic Record and leave at a different time. But at the same time, it is, like, an incredibly fiercely guarded plane of existence. Like, almost impossible to get into kind of plane of existence. But it's really cool. Yeah, Akashic Record is cool, but I really feel like that is from somewhere. I don't know what it is, but I've heard the Akashic Record come up in a lot of other places, so, like, it's gotta be from somewhere, I just don't know what it's from. So be surprised if Paizo made, like, an AP where it was a central component, just because of association. Especially because, like, I'm assuming it has some association with occult stuff. And there's a lot of associations with occult, like, history that's pretty fucked up. So, like, I don't know if Paizo would want to draw attention to that connection. Like, just, there's a lot of weird occultists out there. Like, literal occultists, not Pathfinder 1E occultists, although they are also really weird. So I'd just be surprised, considering it is not an original Galarian Lost Omens thing. Although if there is going to be, like, any AP that will deal with something like that, it's probably going to be Stolen Fate. Because that's a high-level AP starting 11 to 20, I believe. And, like, oh, that's related to Fate and Harrow and weird high-level concept shit. So I could see Akashic Record or Jondelay being associated with those, but, oh, he's gonna have a fun time fighting its Guardians then. I forget what the Guardians of the Akashic Record are, but I just remembered that, like, the lowest CR in Pathfinder 1E was, like, 15. So he'll have a fun time for sure. And absolutely, if I ever do end up playing an Oracle, which I would like to at some point, my intention is to either end up playing, like, a Time Oracle, because Time Oracles are really cool, really weird mechanically, but, like, that's fun. weird, wacky shit that I would have to find a way to make it useful. That's fun. Oh, Hounds of Tyndalos! Got it, got it. Oh yeah, because Hounds of Tyndalos are kind of just guardians of anything weird time. Actually, wait, is the Akashic Record like a subplane of the dimension of time? It might be. It would make sense. Okay, got it. I think I might have been thinking of, like, specific residents. Honestly, I was probably thinking of, like, me being on the Pathfinder wiki at some point and seeing residents of the Akashic Record, and then thinking, oh, those are the people that live in the Akashic Record, not the people that are also there. But if I ever do end up playing an Oracle, I will want to play either a yeah, let's get some bleed. I need damage. Oh, that's right, I have needle ticks. I will either play a time or a lower Oracle, because both of those you can tie into the Akashic Record. And it'll be fun. Although really, lower Oracle would be associated with the Akashic Record, and a Time Oracle would just be a follower of Shaika. If I'm pronouncing that right. The, like, immortal... No, they're not immortal. Like, the multi-faced, infinite, time-traveling Fey Eldest. Shaika is very interesting, because I believe canonically, at some point in reality, basically every point of reality, all of the Shaikas gathered at one point in time and basically decided, okay, we're all Shaika simultaneously. And we're going to guide, like, the world to its best possible timeline. But Shaika is, like... Shaika is a genderless entity, because Shaika is simultaneously an infinite amount of people. Shaika is a legitimately, like, a multiple individual, where there are different individuals that are Shaika, but they are all simultaneously Shaika. Shaika's cool and very confusing, and that's what I want from my Fey Eldists. Shaika's fun. Really, all of the Eldists are fun, in their own ways, because you've got, like, multiple that are just, or like the oh, is it the Young Prince? I'm forgetting who that is, but who's just like, oh yeah, there's the resident deity of goths and depressed people. I'm underselling probably Shaika, and is it Count Railnick? No, Count Railnick was the one that was, like, banished, and is probably somewhere on the material plane that might show up in an AP at some point. There's a lot of really cool Eldists. Also, the Green Mother is hilarious to me, because it's always fun reading through, like, in particular in 2e. I find reading through deities really entertaining, because, especially, like, evil deities, because it's funny sometimes seeing what on earth their, like, anathema and tenets are. Because some of the time it's like, oh yeah, there's no way that anyone will be able to, like, play a cleric of, I don't know, Chiron in a remotely good party, potentially even an evil, or potentially even, like, a neutral party, or, like, or even an evil party, because, like, Chiron's, some of Chiron's tenets are things like, ever extend life, and, like, Chiron has, all of the daemon like all of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse have crazy tenets. Who would have guessed? It's almost like their ultimate goal is the end of all life. But the Green Mother is a neutral evil Fey eldest, and she, some of her tenets and like anathemas are it's stuff like it's like gather information. Also, it's anathema to hoard secrets. She's all about like gossip and manipulation and stuff like that. But then it's so funny to me that one of her anathemas is, I think it's it's discriminate against a sex worker for their profession. It's fine if you, like, mess with them for other reasons, but specifically, no, sex work is an entirely valid kind of work, and that should be respected. If you want to kill them, do it for a different reason. Which, that's kind of what I love about reading evil deities a lot in 2e, is it's always like, oh, what are the lines for the evil deities? Which are just, like, it's just fun sometimes to see, like, what are the lines that, like, they don't want their followers to cross. And Green Mother, it's respect sex workers, which is cool. Which is, and then there's so many just funny, like, anathemas, or how, like, Desna really just has an anathema of don't be a bigot, which is amazing. I'd like a Fae AP. Like, one that's really focused on Fae. That actually, like, goes to the first world, like, maybe in book 4 or something, goes to the first world and stays there for the rest of it. That'd be fun. They don't feel like they get enough love. I say that, there's a shit ton of Fae love, but Fae are really cool. The only problem with Fae is that I personally, like, as a person, don't, like, gel with it because my brain doesn't work in that, like, whimsy chaos way. But really, the first world is so cool. I just love to see some time spent on it. And also, it means that there's a chance that you, in an AP, you could canonically fight a Jabberwocky, which I'm willing to give up a hell of a lot to be able to fight a Jabberwocky in an official Pathfinder AP. Because, like, really, they can't give us a Jabberwocky stat block and then not get us to use it. Like, really, Paizo. I don't know if all of the Fanes made it from 1e into 2e, but there's a lot of very cool and very silly, very, very silly creatures in 1e that I think they're all called the Fanes, and they're all, like, agents of the Eldest, and they're all just explicitly taken from the what is the actual name of the Jabberwocky poem? Is it Tale of the Jabberwocky something or other? But, like, for example, in Pathfinder 1e, there is a stat block for the Bandersnatch. There's also one for, like, a Jub bird. Honestly, the Jub bird is fucking terrifying. Because it has a feature of just like, oh, gets a crit. Make a fortitude save or I chop off your head, instantly killing you. The Bandersnatch isn't as bad, even though it's a lower CR. Because it's just like a scary magical beast. So it doesn't have like spell casting or instant death abilities, which is what makes high level creatures in 2e scary, is whenever it's like, okay, it's casting power word kill. Or stuff like that. I also love that for the Bandersnatch in particular, there's a variant for the Bandersnatch, which is specifically a Firmulus Bandersnatch. I don't think that Tree Razor comes from that. Or what do you mean he is the one with Tree Razor? Because Tree Razor is on the material plane. Like, Tree Razor is, like, or at least he's more associated with the material plane than the first world, I think. Like, I know that Tree Razor has been, like, actually active on the material plane. I think somewhere around Keonan. And hey there, Rhodes. But I don't know, just all the feigns are it's so silly to me that it, like, okay, there's official Pathfinder rules for if you want to play a Jabberwock, and yeah, it actually has, like, it is a dragon, and it is very silly. It is also level 24. It will kill you. Just, yeah, I'd like a cool Fey AP, because I believe it is Count Railnick. I think that's his name, but there is one Fey who supposedly died, but I believe their followers are still getting power. Like, they're still getting spells, and they have been for a long time, and it's, like, hypothesized that they're somewhere on, like, the material plane, just, like, taking a vacation. Or really hiding in exile. But, like, that's a cool thing. That would be really cool, because I'm forgetting what his tenets are. They're very edgy. Exceptionally edgy. But let it be known that I'm not saying that as a negative. I'm not saying that as a negative at all. It's just a fun idea for an eldest. The one thing that I'm not as, like, I believe it's the Lantern Lord that is associated with Kingmaker, so I'm not expecting that they'd come up. I don't know, other than I've heard a lot of people talk about the Lantern Lord when they're talking about the Pathfinder Kingmaker CRPG. That's the extent of my knowledge, because I have never made it past Act 1 of the Kingmaker CRPG. I want to play that at some point. Oh, fun stuff. Yeah, just, like, someone at Paizo really just saw their chance to make a Jabberwock and then decided, yeah, why wouldn't I? I fully support that kind of thinking. What's other, like, I mean, I would love, this is, so we're gonna be getting one 4-book AP in Tianjia. Another potential idea for an AP in Tianjia that I think would be really cool would be Wrath of Righteous 2 Electric Boogaloo. Because there's some area in Tianjia, I'm forgetting, it's not in Shinmen, is it? But there's an area in Tianjia, it's been really nice having you, it's been really nice having you here, Hector, and now I know why I didn't spot you last time. I'm not used to calling you Avery. And your name makes a lot of sense, Avery. You do cause problems. But there's an area in Tianjia that has basically another hole into the abyss, just like the World Wound, except that, unlike the World Wound, demons aren't coming through it, Quipulets are. Quipulets being the original inhabitants of the abyss that are, like, kind of a bit beyond mortal comprehension, sort of like evil incarnate, because demons are, like, sins and that kind of evil, where, no, just Crippolus are more the metaphysical representation of evil itself, and that are vastly outnumbered by demons, who are, I think they're actually, like, one of the goals of Crippolus is, like, ending sin. Because if you end sin, then there stop being as many demons and they could start taking back the abyss. But they're still very evil. But, like, they're a very interesting and more nuanced kind of evil from demons, which demons are very, like, Saturday morning cartoon swirling a mustache evil. Like, so over the top evil. It's great, but, like, we've all seen that before. So, focusing more on Crippolus could be cool. Also, let's kill this magma worm. I think it might have aggroed onto me now. Get it? Nope, it's still up top. Now let's actually read chat instead of wondering about Crippolus. Playing a campaign in a Fey world. Yeah, Fey are really cool. I believe that the way that they want to end sin is not good. I think they're more of a, we can end sin by, like, destroying civilization sort of thing. Not like a end sin as in get everyone to be happy and have fulfilling lives. They are still exceptionally evil. But there's another world wound out there. That's room for a new AP. I did not mean to spawn the ally worship unit right now, so this will be interesting, because I don't have, like, enough items for this, I think. But we'll see. I can always just go around and loot shit while the fight's going on. Yeah, Crippolus are more like a... I don't know enough about Crippolus, because there's hardly any lore related to them, because Paizo just always focuses on demons, which makes sense, because demons are the predominant, like, faction within Hell. Like, they are the predominant members of Hell's ecos. Not Hell, Abyss. But they're, like, the predominant people within the ecosystem of the Abyss, so it makes sense that they focus way more on, like, demons and demon lords over Crippolus. But I just find the Crippolus so interesting of, like, oh, that's, like, the unspeakable horrors. Like, the insidious, like, parasitic kind of horror. In a way, like, I also would love to see a Daemon AP, like, focusing on Abaddon, because demons don't get enough, daemons don't get enough love, as being the actual worst kind of fiend, in my opinion, because, like, demons want to have, like, eternal torment and, like, conflict and everyone to have a bad time, because they think that having a bad time is a good time. Devils want to have absolute authority over everything and expanding the dominion of Hell. Daemons want the end of all life. All. Like, they are, demons are like, murderers, basically, and then, devils are obviously, like, fascist sort of leanings. I'm very much struggling to come up with words. Daemons are just the heat death of the universe. And that is fun. Also, there's a lot of cool lore with daemons, like, the fact that the first daemon, was called the Omnia Daemon? Omni Daemon? Something like that. And they were the one who created all of the other daemon types, except for one recently, which is new, I believe. or maybe it's just hasn't been seen on Galarian, but but regardless, they were the first daemon that, like, ended... They were a soul, basically, that it got washed up onto the shore of the River of Souls. And then they started basically fishing out other souls and molding them into daemons. Which is fucking cool. But the first 4 that they made ended up becoming the first 4 horsemen. So, like, the Horseman of Death, the Horseman of Famine, it might be Conflict, it might be War, I'm forgetting, and then Pestilence. And then from there, like, they were the original head honcho of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Until eventually, all of the Horsemen basically got together and said, hey, they keep on, like, the Onya Daemon keeps on coming up with more and more dangerous types of like daemons, and they could very feasibly come up with a kind that's more powerful than us. So then all of the horsemen came together to do something to the, like, Onyo Daemon, something daemon, it starts with an O, and, like, scrub them from history. The thing is, they're not dead. They're not gone. They're still out there somewhere as the thing that made the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Which is really cool. As, like, oh, that's a plot hook. Someone's trying to get them out. And then the other... Really, I just find the Horsemen really cool. They are absolutely terrible, terrible entities. But they also, they're all just metal. Like a lot of the demon lords aren't necessarily, like, metal as hell. And then it's like, oh, the current, I believe it's either Famine or Pestilence. The current Horseman of Pestilence, I'm gonna say Pestilence. I don't know if it's Pestilence. Was an individual who was like an archmage. No, it's Famine. It's definitely Famine. So the current Horseman of Pestilence, the current Horseman of Famine ended up like creating a plague that wiped out all life on their planet. Like, legitimately, they were the only living creature left on the planet. And then they starved to death over a very long time and very, very painfully. So then they became a daemon, like, was the right-hand man of the previous Horseman of Famine, then now is insane and is haunted by, like, the mind of the previous Horseman. That's the weakest Horseman, I believe. That's the least scary one. Which is like, holy shit, that's a metal one. Well, no, if I said devils are metal as hell, daemons are metal as Abaddon. Very clear distinction between the different fiendish planes. But, like, then Chiron, the Horseman of Death, well, really, the Horseman overall, it is a position, or rather, it's a title. As in, if you kill the current Horseman, like, if a daemon kills the current Horseman, they are the new Horseman for that category. So, like, there have been, like, a dozen Horsemen of, like, war. There's only ever been one Horseman of Death. No one has ever killed Chiron. I don't think there have been that many attempts that people know of. It might just be that the instant someone seriously considers it, they die. Like, Chiron is one of the older, like, entities. And it's so terrifying. in a good way. I mean this as a positive. Where it's like, oh, this, all the other horsemen are here to like cause chaos and death and spread war, spread pestilence, spread famine. Chiron is playing the long game and is patient, which is worse. Like, I think it's really epitomized in like how every horseman has a specific daemon type that is like their deacon, I think is the term. So like there's a specific type of daemon that's like, because every daemon type is associated with a different way of dying, which is cool because like every demon generally has some kind of like sin that is associated with them that they epitomize. Like succubi have lust, where like incubi in Pathfinder have sadism. And then like different devils have different themes for like what causes them to be the way that they are, and yada. Ow, that was a really bad teleport directly into a projectile. But then daemons are all associated with different ways of dying. So there is a daemon that is like only ever actually formed from people who died of disease. And generally it has to be like horribly died of disease. And then like that specific one would be a deacon of pestilence. So they directly serve the horsemen of pestilence. The deacons of death are Thanadaemons. They are what you probably traditionally think of if you're aware of like Chiron. They're ferrymen. They ferry people around the river Styx. What's interesting is that normally you don't cooperate with daemons because daemons won't cooperate with you. Their ultimate goal is the ending of all life. The only way that you really can like control a daemon is by giving them a better alternative that causes more death and destruction. So like you can summon a daemon and it'll listen to you if you say, hey, instead of killing the one me, go out and kill 2 people. That's it. That's more death. It's then gonna try and kill you afterwards. But Thanadaemons are dramatically more cooperative than other daemons. Thanadaemons represent dying of old age. And specifically, they plague long cons. And that really shows, okay, worst red. Or maybe not the worst, but one of the worst. Oh, cap crit. Let's go. I don't really have any whites that I am unwilling to give up. So, 10 glasses, here we go. For 100% crit chance. So, like, they are entirely willing to, if you run across one, yeah, you just have to pay for passage and they'll take you around. You just have to pay for passage, that's fine. They're more than happy to ferry you to places that will probably get you killed. They don't need to do the work, you're gonna die anyway. Which is just really cool. So I would love to see a more like explicitly daemon focused AP fighting one of the like Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which really is a big ask because like fighting and maybe killing one of the demon lords, that's a different story because like demon lords, there's like 30 of them, but there's only four horsemen, so killing one of them in an AP would be ridiculous. But like, I don't know, I want more horseman stuff. And yeah, like a daemons basically are like reverse trolley problem. But most daemons would just say, oh yeah, no, definitely, I'd definitely not pull the lever so it runs over 5 people. Where Thanadaemons might think, oh, but this particular person, depending on the way that you look at it, could cause more death. So then I will pull the lever. They're more of the, like, calculating daemons, when most daemons are, like, rage monsters. Also, they're fucking terrifying in 2e. Like, different types of, daemons are really scary. Because they have some crazy shit going. Incubi are, like, generally the masculine version of, like, in general, non-Pathfinder, Galarian-specific lore. Yeah, Incubi are just male succubi. But in Galarian, or rather in, like, the Lost Omen setting, Paizo has basically made that there is actually a distinction. They are basically, like, brother and sister demon types, but it's different types of, basically, different aspects of a similar sin. So, like, yeah, like, they're very similar, but different ways of showing it. So there's a distinction in Galarian. And basically everywhere else, yeah, it's just male and female versions of Lust Demon. Oh yeah, but when I said earlier, like, oh yeah, but daemons are really scary in 2e, I fought a fair amount of daemons. There is a fair amount of daemons in Agents of Edgewatch. But generally, the silliest, if I'm not silliest. So the 2 types that I'll talk about, because I don't remember, like, the exact mechanics for one of them. I remember a fair amount of mechanics for another, but is the Deacon of Famine. I'm forgetting what they're called. They look like werewolves. I don't know why. Actually, wait, no, I do know why. Current Horseman of Famine is like a wolf man, because he's from a different world in the material plane. He's an alien. He's an alien turned daemon. But screw it, I'll take Telebobble or Tintabobble. But the main thing that they actually have mechanically, or really what every daemon has, is they generally all have some way to cause other people to die based on their cause of death. So a daemon of so like a famine daemon has, I think it's an aura, and maybe also like a thing on hit where you have to make, I think it's a fort save or a will save or something, or start to die of thirst and hunger, which like makes you fatigued, and then and like you can remove it by eating. And other mechanics associated with that. The longer you're around them, the worse it gets, and it starts doing like damage, and it's cool. I haven't fought many of them, so I can't exactly tell you. The one that stands out more to me, even though I only fought this one once also, is although to be fair, my GM did cut encounters, so maybe we would have fought them more than once. Is the demons associated with dying of disease, because they are terrifying, like really scary, because disease in 2e is really bad, or at least like diseases on about your level are really bad, because they're like poisons, except generally their effects are worse or longer lasting. The trade-off is that you generally only make the save once a day. So like, oh, okay, we'll have time to get back into town, or time for tomorrow for our cleric to pay, we'll have tomorrow for our cleric in the party to remove disease and get rid of it. Like, after a certain point, diseases aren't that scary because you have a lot of ways to get rid of them, and you have time to get those things. The, whatever the disease daemon is called, they have an aura that they can... Well, it might be a gaze, actually. It's something where everyone around them, any disease that they have, or rather every disease that they have, rapidly accelerates, and you have to make a save against that, against the disease. Instead of once a day, you make it once a round. Which is terrifying, because there are a lot of diseases where it's like, oh, look at this, stage 5, you're dead. Stage 4 is you're unconscious. If you roll 2 back-to-back ones, you're out of the fight. Which is crazy. And I think it's also like 2 actions they can concentrate on an individual to make them roll a save. It is. And of course they carry a disease, so they can actually apply it to people. Because if you fight one of these things and no one in your party had a disease and they didn't carry a disease, they would, then obviously they, as a creature, wouldn't, or an encounter wouldn't be that scary because all of their abilities revolve around diseases. So Paizo gave them one. There is a distinction between diseases and curses in 2e. Generally, curses are more of a one-time effect. Generally speaking, like if we're talking about more like, if we're talking about general like spell curses, they're generally one-time effects. You don't make like a will save every day to see how bad the curse is. Although it would be very easy to just take the rules for creating diseases to make a curse like that. Honestly, that's a really good idea. There are diseases that are also curses, like mummy rot, where mummy rot has a single stage in its disease. Or, sorry, mummy rot has 2 stages. However, it really just has 1 stage. Because, so basically, you can never reach quote-unquote stage 0 of mummy rot until you have remove curse cast on you to remove the curse aspect of mummy rot. And all that mummy rot does is every stage 1, you have to make the save every minute, which is why I say there's really just 1 stage to it, because eventually you're gonna fail the saving throw, and then you're on stage 2 for a day. So in reality, yeah, no, you're gonna be on stage 2, because unless you normal fail on the save on money rot on a natural 1, you will eventually fail that saving throw. You'll eventually roll a 1. But stage 2 is it just does like, I forget how much, but it's like you just take a bit of negative damage that can't be healed, and it's subtracted from your max health. So every single day, your max health is going to go down by like 2d6 until eventually you're dead. Lifelong curses, potentially. And specifically when I'm saying that you could adapt the rules for diseases to curses, I'm saying, like, even if you succeed on all of your will saves, it's not going to go away until you have remove curse cast on you. Like, it's still a curse and really annoying to get rid of. Just, it has scaling levels of curse available, rather than always being at the same difficulty. But there are still curses that last forever. The main examples are things like that there are just spells with the curse trait. For example, Warrior's Regret I don't think is a curse, even if it is one of my favorite spells in the game. But like Curse of the Outlaw, I think, or not Outlaw, Outcast, something. What it does is it just makes it so everyone's, and you take a penalty on your on like skill checks to make an impression. Like, you basically you take a penalty on diplomacy checks, is basically the most obvious immediate mechanical effect. But the other mechanical effect is that everyone's starting impression of you, using like the impression diplomacy rules for how much do NPCs like you, is like 1 or 2 steps worse, which can easily make like, oh, someone's indifferent, now they're hostile. And if you critically fail on your saving throw, it lasts forever until it's removed. There's one, I'm forgetting exactly what it is, but there's a curse called Clownish Curse, which makes you like clownish. The main thing, so in terms of like making a curse a character trait, the easiest and probably most boring way of doing that is to just say, hey, I'm an oracle. I'm cursed as part of my class. The other way to do it would just be to pick any of the curses that are already in the game and then talk to your GM and say, hey, can this like not be removed unless I do some very specific things, like, oh, this isn't a normal, I'm just going to use like Outlaw's Curse. This isn't a normal Outlaw's Curse. This is a special one that will require a special ritual to get rid of. So then one part of your character's missions is to get rid of this curse that makes everyone hate him on sight. I don't believe that there are, I don't think that there are any ritual curses. I'm not that familiar with cursed items because I am normally a player, so I don't look at cursed items much because I don't want to see a description of an item and then immediately know it's cursed. By the way, I'm the kind of player that will happily put it on anyway, but I don't want to know. Ideally. God, I have a lot of healing. 6 Wungus, which is Weeping Fungus. That is a lot of healing. Does it actually say? No, well, it's a total of, what is that, 12% health a second while sprinting? I should have grabbed the energy drink earlier. I need more movement speed. That isn't Blink. One thing which maybe isn't like a character flaw situation because it will kill you. Like, no, it will almost undeniably kill you. But no. Barring extreme circumstances, it will just kill your character. So it is a lifelong curse. Is Blighted Boons, which came out in the Treasure Vault, which are things that you can do to power up your character that gradually, they basically work like diseases that get worse over time. The problem is that there is like one specific way to get rid of them for each one. And sometimes it's like, okay, so one example is one of the Blighted Boons in the Treasure Vault is like a phoenix thing? It's like basically the ashes of a phoenix that have been separated from the phoenix soul. That's effectively what it is. And it gives you like, oh, fire resistance equal to your level at stage 1. Stage 2, fast healing equal to half your level at all times. And fire resistance equal to your level. Additionally, your max health is reduced by like 2 per level. But you have permanent fast healing. And then stage 3, you are permanently hot to the touch, of course. You have fast healing equal to your level. You're immune to all fire damage. Your max health is reduced by like 4 per level. So you heal a shit ton, but you don't have much health. And then, finally, the last thing is, if you die, you explode into a bunch of flames, and you are dead. Stage 4, if you ever hit it, is you immediately explode into a bunch of flames, and you are dead now. The only way to get rid of this once you ingest it is to find a Sphinx. Not a Sphinx, a Phoenix. And kill it. Then, like, spill blood on its ashes before it comes back. Wait, no, sorry. It's worse. You have to find a phoenix, kill it, find where it resurrected, kill it again, and then now it can't resurrect anymore. Because phoenixes can only resurrect, like, once a year or once a month or something. So then you find it again, and then you, like, spill blood on its corpse. And then it resurrects as a, like, chaotic neutral, or, like, sorry, as, like, a true neutral or chaotic neutral, evil phoenix that's only, like, it doesn't have all of the normal Phoenix personality traits, which are generally good. Instead, it just wants to kill everything. Like, it will just endlessly seek destruction. So now you have to kill a third Phoenix. Which is really cool, but it's also, like, save DC on this item is really high. So if you give it to a low-level character, yeah, stage 1 is like a month long. But you can very quickly die from there. So that is like a interesting curse, but it may not be the kind of thing you're looking for like a long-term character. There's like one blighted boon is basically you slowly turn into an arboreal, which is the you know, the generic Pathfinder version of treant. So you slowly turn more and more into a tree, and eventually you just turn into a tree. But you get like resistance to all physical damage, but you get slower. You start being able to carry a ridiculous amount, and you start getting reach because you're turning into a tree. And or another one that is really interesting is that there's an option for now for giving a vampire giving someone a bit of their blood to give them, like, vampire abilities. Of course, slowly over time, they're going to succumb to it. Inevitably, unless you do the one specific way of getting rid of this, then eventually you're going to die, and if the vampire that gave you the blood is still alive, you're now their thrall. So blighted boons are, like, very much this is a curse, this is going to kill your character, you get incredible power. Enjoy it while it lasts. They're very fun. Tree lycanthropes is not necessarily the most accurate. It's more... It's been a while since I've read it, so I might be wrong about this. You can go into Archives of Nethys and go to items, then... equipment, then blighted boons. There's like only 4 of them in the game right now because they just came out. I think it's more like you ingest an incredibly powerful magical seed of an arboreal, and then it grows in you and like consumes you. So it's more like you get tree powers because you turned yourself into a planting pot. Most of these are not good things to do. In a kind of similar way, it's not a curse, like, objectively, but it's a really cool, like, it's one of my favorite things that they put out in the treasure vault. Like, yeah, all the items are cool, but to anyone who's been on this channel for any extended amount of time, or really since, like, the first 6 months or so of this channel, I love archetypes. I really love archetypes. And so obviously I'm gonna like the archetypes that come out in the treasure vault, even though there's only 2. But they have, let's do one more loop, and then I'm probably gonna call it for this stream because my voice is slowly dying. But there are now artifact archetypes, which are archetypes that are associated with some kind of incredibly powerful and significant artifact that you have access to that has permanently changed who you are. Like, There are two in the treasure vault. The Ursine Avenger, I think, and the Gelid Shard archetype. Which is, you have a shard of ice in your heart that gradually grows larger, that separates you from, like, emotion, but gives you really cool ice powers that I really want to play at some point. I just need a character that would actually, like, benefit from, or synergize at all with the archetype. Okay. Astral Soul Monk. Remind me again what Astral Soul does. Is that, like, the basically Dragon Ball monk in 5e that does radiant damage? It's been a long time since I've considered playing a monk in 5e. If it is, I have an idea. I just don't want to start rambling about a potential character build and then realize that I actually had the wrong monk way. It's the JoJo reference monk. That doesn't really narrow it down much. Is that the radiant one? I know there's one that can shoot blasts of radiant damage. This is a problematic scavenger. What does it have that's making it so hard to kill? If it is like a very magical show around, like, oh, okay, come on, game. I don't want to die because of lag. But if it is like a very shooting out blasts of energy kind of thing, a lot of it depends on what level you're at currently. Summoning extra hands to get reach and stuff. Okay. Yeah, that's hard. There isn't any way in 2e to get more than 2 hands. So in terms of just, like, hands, that isn't necessarily immediately easy. Considering Summoner Meld into Eidolon, yeah, but the main ways of getting reach on an Eidolon are just getting really fucking big. So that may not be the best. I mean, it's certainly a way of doing it. What level are you? Because the immediate thing that I was thinking of for, like, reach is, I don't know why this is mostly in my head because I thought it was the, like, oh, it's Radiant Soul Monk, isn't it? There's some kind of monk where you shoot out blasts of radiant energy. But at level 8, I think, there's a monk feat that gives you a key stance. So it's a stance that you enter using a key spell that gives you access to ranged, that gives you, like, a ranged unarmed strike. So you, like, punch the air and then wind rushes out and you hit someone. It's really cool. I just wish it was lower level so you could get it earlier. Level 4, okay. Okay, so, I'm forgetting what level this is. Yeah, okay, level 8. That's why I was asking, because, the wind stance is pretty cool for, like, a... You could just flavor it as, oh, yeah, they're throwing out a punch, and it literally is just, like, crazy long reach. And then just so long as you don't have a, reaction, like stand still or attack of opportunity, you won't notice that you don't have that reach when it isn't your turn. But low level. I can't think of that many ways to extend reach at low level. Level 4, I'm forgetting what level lunge is, but that's a fighter feat where you can extend your range during your round. And I'm gonna be real with you here. There isn't really anything wrong with playing an unarmed fighter. Like, they're gonna be more accurate than monks. They might have to wear armor at level 4 is one downside. Oh, that's right, I have kept crit. I need a Harvester Scythe. I can always use more healing. Let's see. What could be good? Skill cooldown reduction. That's not bad. But I could really use a way to automatically kill stuff. I'm saying as if things aren't almost dying instantly. Let's see. Reach on monk. See, there is a monk feat that gives reach, but it is very high level. It's like level 18 or something. Because reach is really fucking strong. Especially on like any character that has a reaction where they can make an attack off of their turn, like say the level 4 standstill feat. That's really good. Because then, like, unlike 5e, if someone is running up next to you and you have reach, that provokes an attack of opportunity. So, like, that reach and AOs are a match made in heaven. But let's see. The cop-out answer is to say, use a bow staff and flavor it as fists. But, like, say, hey, that, like, but that is such a cop-out answer that I don't want to give it. The other... Rules-wise, it deals AoE damage when you summon the astral projection, and gets reach, and also uses wisdom for athletics and such. So, let's see here. In terms of AoE, the go-to for AoE on Monk is the Key Blast focus spell, which is level 6. That is, like, the go-to, because then you can do that every fight. And it's honestly really good. It's not super great damage, but as long as you have a decent wisdom, your save DC isn't terrible, and you can do it every fight. And it's also, I call it a Kamehameha, but you can flavor it as all different types of energy blasts of any kind. Then... Actually, wait, no, there's a far better key stance that you just have to really re-flavor to change exactly, like, what it looks like. But Creeping Shadows is a stance that has reach on unarmed strikes, but that's also level 8. One thing, I'm forgetting what level it is. This may be a bit too strong. But I'm forgetting exactly what its effects are. But there is a new rune that came out in the treasure vault called the Flurrying Rune, which, as you might guess from the name, is specifically for monks, which, whenever you bring a target to 0 hit points with a flurry of blows, with I think it's specifically the first attack, you can make your last attack against anyone within, like, 60 feet, as you just manifest a arm or a kick, or if you're using, like, a monk weapon, it just comes out of nowhere and hits someone on the other side of the map. The problem is I think that's like a level 8 rune. You might think about homebrewing a version of the Flurrying Rune that the other thing that it does is it allows you to create a spiritual weapon as per, like, the spiritual weapon spell. I think it's once a day, maybe, but that then you can control, and it uses, like, your wisdom, and it's a really cool item that gives, like, unarmed strikes some more range. It's just high level, so you could take a look at that. I'm forgetting exactly its effects right now, but it's a cool one. But you could take that, homebrew it, strip it down, so, like, maybe make it so here's an idea. So, just to quickly bash out a build, nothing fancy and not much that's really, like, here for good, but, so here's a hypothetical build for a fighter that really cares a lot about quote-unquote reach, who will eventually get reach. Or not a fighter, a monk. But, including homebrew, because I'm assuming you're in a homebrew campaign and willing to give people items, and I don't think that this would be crazy, because you're probably going to have to homebrew items for other people to represent stuff that they have anyway. If you're doing this, I would try and give a kind of similar item to other PCs in the party, and then just, like, not give them as much loot for a little while. Enough for fundamental runes, but you don't need to, like, swamp them with shit. I missed a... Oh, yeah. Jade Elephant, don't need that. But then, for example, like, take out the, maybe something like, a minor flurrying rune or something, which whenever you make a attack that either brings a target to 0 HP, or maybe makes a crit attack, that would be really strong. I would suggest just sticking with that brings to 0 hit points. Then they can make an attack against someone within 30 feet, or whatever the original rune is, maybe half what the original rune is, because otherwise you might not have a reason to switch to the original rune later on. And then they can make, like, their second part of their unarmed strike against that target, or if it was like you took down an enemy to 0 hit points with your second attack of a flurry of blows, then instead you can, like, if you can spend your next action to punch someone from far away, so you don't waste it if you use both attacks, and then, like, are let down because you can't do your cool flurrying rune shit. So then, like, say, okay, that's all it is. It's the lesser version, so you take a -2 penalty on your attack roll whenever you're attacking at range. And then that's all that it is, and then your PC has that, and then they can use that instead. As, like, a pseudo, every once in a while, I can, like, stretch out my arms or send spectral arms to go over and punch the shit out of people. It's not like a state that they can enter right now, but it's something that they can do at particular times. That sometimes you just gotta homebrew whenever you don't have something that works for it in system. In terms of, like, an actual build regarding, like, to lead up to getting other abilities that sound like AoE and reach, is maybe level 1 key strike. This is mainly to get access to like, other damage types, but mainly for just getting key spells, because you're gonna need them for other feats. And also you can totally, like, normally key strike is like, oh, you focus inwards and think more about the way that you're fighting and punch someone with your inner spirit, that kind of stuff. You could totally just say, you manifest another, like, fist made out of force, and you punch someone in the face. That's why it does force damage. Like, that's totally okay. To flavor additional arms. Then level 2, or really, level 1 and 2 could be interchanged, if I'm being honest. Level 2, you probably want to grab, like, a stance. Even if they're not a martial artist, you can just flavor it as, this is how they like to punch people. Just stances are really good. Stances are fantastic. The most basic stance, by the way, are... The most basic stances are Tiger Style and Crane Style, because Crane Style is your go-to defensive stance because you get a +1 circumstance bonus to AC, and monks already have really good ACs. Oh no. I hate hearing things spawn next to me whenever I'm frozen in place. Thankfully they were like jellyfish or something. Whatever it is, they weren't big. But then Tiger Stance is just, oh, look at this. You enter the stance and you can make D8 slashing agile finesse attacks. So it's just like the basic, yeah, you got good damage stance for a finesse monk, which I'm assuming they are a finesse monk because you're coming from 5e where you can use dexterity for everything on a monk. I feel like that's a safe assumption for me to make. I need to run now or I might die because of the fire. But then level 4, you've got a little bit more choices to make. For example, Stunning Fist is really good. Every time you hit someone with, or you target someone with both attacks of a flurry of blows, they have to make a save or get stunned. It's incapacitation, but it's every turn. It's a very good feat. Another option is taking Standstill, because Standstill... I activated that many mountain shrines? What the hell? That explains why that fight was so hard. The other option being like Standstill, because even if you don't have reach yet, you probably will. Or rather, you will later. Just, we're not there yet. So then, so then you allow, Standstill is just good in general because people are going to provoke even if you don't, like, they're going to take move actions near you even if you don't have reach. And Standstill is just really good. Speaking as someone who has had Standstill before, it's an amazing feat. Even better if you get reach. The other option being like, you could get wholeness of body so you can heal yourself up between fights. Really, level 4, I wouldn't say has anything like integral. Or like, oh yeah, to fulfill the concept, I think you need to take this feat here. Really, level 2 doesn't either with like grabbing a style. Just really every monk wants a style unless they're using weapons in 2e. So I would just grab it at level 2 because you want one. Your unarmed strikes are a little bit sad otherwise. Level 6, I would recommend taking Key Blast for obvious like AoE punching out in a flurry of blows that is a 50 or like a 60-foot cone that pushes people back. And then level 8, Clinging Shadows, reflavoring it. I would totally be down with, like, I would totally understand just saying, it's Clinging Shadows, you get reach and grapple and stuff, but it doesn't do negative damage because that doesn't fit for the flavor of the character. Like, just don't make it force damage. That's the big thing, is a stance that does force damage would be way too powerful. Force damage is above and beyond the best damage type in the game. Like, the next best damage type is like, in terms of bypassing resistances and like stuff like that, is like Sonic or something, which still has like maybe 20 creatures that are like resistant to it, and then literally nothing in the game is resistant to force. It's so good. But the main thing would just be, if you just give them like a weak flurrying rune. The main thing that I'm thinking when regards to flurry runes is that it does have the ability to make a spiritual weapon, which the spiritual weapon, for the record, is literally just your like unarmed strike. So you do just make a fist that you control separately from your character. But that's like maybe once a day. I can't remember. It's probably been like 3 weeks since I looked through and read the flurry rune. Um, but that might be a little bit too good for just giving a basic ass flurry rune, because it's probably like, considering its level, it's probably like a high level spiritual weapon, which would probably be too much to give a level 4 character. It's either nerfing it so it's just like, oh, it's a level 2 spiritual weapon. It doesn't do much damage, but hey, it's fun. That depends a lot, because one thing about weapons, or not weapons, but just magic items in general in 2e that I've said a couple of times that is a little bit annoying is a lot of the time items don't feel like permanent upgrades, because if it's like, oh sweet, this allows me to cast Fireball. Like, let's take a Flaming Star Spell Heart as an example. That allows you to cast a 3rd level Fireball once a day. You do get to use your own saving throw DC, but it never heightens. So you're always stuck with a 66 Fireball, which in some situations can still be useful, but in like most situations, if enemies aren't weak to fire, that isn't useful. But even more so, there are items where it's like, oh yeah, you get to make a spell attack roll. It's a +7 modifier, and the problem there is, oh, but that's terrible past level 1. So then, this is a really cool item, but it's just not effective past the level where you can afford it. But the inverse of that is if you get that item before you should be able to afford it, it's really fucking good. And yeah, if it's... So, basically, be careful with giving someone a flurrying rune. If anything, it might be possible to just say, hey, you can replicate some of the effects of a flurrying rune, but that'll take your level 4 class feat. I would go a little bit against that. I'd be hesitant about that, rather than just giving a rune. The downside of the rune is that they won't be able to do it if they don't have the rune with them. Or rather, if they ever have, like, their hand reps of Mighty Blows taken away, they won't be able to do it anymore. Which is a little weird in terms of, like, in character, wait, you can't access your weird soul form anymore? Why are the gloves so important to you, man? But I think that could work. You just have to finagle a little bit. But sometimes there just are some character options that don't work flawlessly. And when it comes down to it, you could make Eidolon work, because Eidolons are unarmored. You just have to, like, come up with some justifications. That would be like a, more of a, we're reflavoring the character for an Eidolon. Or for a summoner. But you could maybe make it work like the special form that you enter is like your battle meditation form or something, which explains why your ability scores are, why your physical ability scores are dramatically worse in your normal summoner form, but get really good whenever you summon your Eidolon. Yeah, I want to make a key-focused monk so bad. Mostly because key form is a focus spell that exists, and, like, how could I not? I think I told someone in one of my groups, because we're considering what AP we're going to play next, because we're getting close to, we're like over halfway through Outlaws of Alkenstar. And they were talking about, like, oh yeah, I might actually want to play a monk, like focusing on key spells or something. That could be cool for Strength of Thousands. And I think I told them that if they don't take key form, they're dead to me. Because, like, don't you want to take the Super Saiyan move? Because that's all key form is. It is an incredibly on the nose Super Saiyan mode, which is It's great. It's also not bad. Like, oh, it gives you a fly speed, more damage. Bonus on saves, you can make it so you hurt enemies around you, and it's good. But also, like, how do you want to flavor your Super Saiyan? And you really can't underestimate the power. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, although, do keep in mind, this isn't necessarily the most in-depth thought process, considering what I'm doing at the same time, is that monks just have so many good key spells. Like, really, they have so many. Because, like, yeah, the first two are pretty lame, because they're level 1, but Key Strike is really good. It gives you a boost on 2 attacks, both attack and damage, and you get to choose the damage type, even though you're almost always going to be picking Force. Because the options are, what, like Force, Negative, and Positive? Accepting any changes that are made by other feats that you have. So, like, literally the only time that you would want to do something else is if you're fighting an enemy that is weak to positive damage. Or negative damage. Except there's only a single creature in the entire game that is weak to negative damage. Very cool creature, though. Gliminal. Which I actually talked about in a game yesterday, but, but, like, yeah, Key Strike and Key Rush aren't very fancy. But then, like, okay, Wholeness of Body. Okay, so you're telling me a self-healing focus spell that heals more past, like, level 3, I think, than, no, sorry, it's level 4 spells where it starts to outpace Lay on Hands, but it's only for yourself. But it also makes you effectively immune to disease, because every 10 minutes you can try and counteract any disease on yourself by just meditating and casting Wholeness of Body. It's like, oh, that's really cool. And then Key Blast I can gush about for a very long time, and then Abundant Step, okay. Teleport double your speed as a single action. Or it may just be your speed, but, like, monks already have enough speed. They're the fastest people in the game, and being able to teleport that distance allows for, like, oh, we need to climb up a cliff to get, like, into a fight or something. Okay, I teleport to the top of the cliff. I don't have to make all of those athletics checks, I'm there. Oh, you're gonna lock me in a prison cell? Well, I'm gonna teleport out. just teleportation focus spells are cool. And then, like, Clinging Shadows and Whistling Winds? Whistling Winds, something. The two stance focus spells are cool. I want to see more stance focus spells, because there's only 2 and they came out in the core rulebook, and I want to see more of them because they're fun. I would love to see some lower level ones, because I want to play a key-based monk from level 1 that can actually use a focus spell for more than one action in a fight, so they feel more impactful if it's like a stance or something that lasts the whole fight instead of just, like, key striking to blast someone into oblivion. I actually have some fun ideas for potential... Is that a blue portal? Or is that a Celestine? We'll see in a moment. Ideally, 100 seconds. Well, got out of the teleporter zone for a split second, so... but I've got some fun ideas that I would like to see for stances, although in reality, the reality of the situation is that I want to see a stance-based class, more so than monks are stance-based. Because, like, monks are stance-based, as in they have a lot of stances, but monks don't have a reason to want to change stances normally. The only exception to that is if you're in a stance that limits you to making one particular kind of unarmed attack, like, say, mountain stance. You can only make, like, the earth crash stances, or whatever they're called. Staggering stone or something stances. Which is a problem if someone's, like, flying and you want to shoot them with a bow. You can't while you're in mountain stance. So you have to exit mountain stance to be able to make ranged attacks. But for the most part, like, if you're in crane stance is a bad example. You can only make crane wing strikes. But if you're in, like, I don't know. Let's just say, I don't know, dragon stance. Dragon stance, you can only make dragon tail attacks. There's no downside to being in dragon stance at all. You have no reason to want to switch unless you, like, have... It is a blue portal. Hey, I might be able to get some more lunar coins by burning all of my lunar coins. But I want to see a stance where the stances have effects for being in the stance and for leaving the stance. The kind of example that I originally came up with this idea for, and then the book for Tianjia is a Lost Omens book, so we're no longer going to be getting a samurai class, is imagine like a, I don't know, sheathed blade style, which has the requirements of you have no weapons in your hands, and you have a weapon sheath, and then you get some bonus, like maybe a bonus to your speed, or bonus to your AC or something, but then whenever you exit the stance, you get to make an attack with like a +2 bonus or something. That's way too good. It would be a damage bonus as you draw your weapon when you exit the stance, and you get bonus damage. Very samurai. Not really all that practical of actual ways of fighting, but this is Fantasyland. And then you could have like a super defensive stance, a ranged stance, and then like every single one of this class would start with 1 or 2 stances that they can swap between. Like they all have a defensive stance that gives them like a +1 status or circumstance bonus to AC, but a penalty on attack rolls. Something like that. And then every a bonus on attack roll, or sorry, a bonus on Jesus words. This is why I'm going to be ending the stream shortly, because my brain is fried. So it's like a defensive stance. Let's just call it defensive stance. That gives a +1 circumstance bonus to AC and a -1 penalty to attack rolls. Then, but in like maybe whenever you enter this stance, you can step or something like that. And then you have an offensive stance that I would personally, I think should be associated with like a subclass. So like depending on your fighting style, maybe your offensive stance gives you like precision ranger kind of precision damage on your first strike of the turn. Or maybe it's like a thing where you, I don't know, get a bonus on attacking multiple creatures, so it's like Flurry Ranger, but you can't attack the same person multiple times, so it's like a sweeping arc of a blade sort of thing. So then you want to manage, am I in defensive mode, or am I in like super offensive mode? And every single one of these like offensive stances would also come with a downside. So you have to manage like, can I keep myself in defensive mode when I think I'll be attacked, in offensive mode whenever I'll think I'll be able to make attacks. I just think that's a really cool idea for a super dynamic martial, so I'd love to see it. I'm not expecting to ever see something like that. I think it is more likely that if we, or when we get another traditional martial, because the kineticist is just a martial with magical flavoring, a very weird martial, but a martial nonetheless. I kind of hope that the next, like, more traditional martial class we get is a more team-focused one. That is, in reality, in my mind, is just a full class version of the martial archetype. Because the martial archetype is really cool and a lot of fun. And seeing an entire class based around, like a tactician class would be cool. But, I don't know. Just, like, committing to all-out defense, all-out offense as a core class concept feels really cool. And if I ever decide to actually, like, make, like, homebrew things, and I end up deciding, yeah, I'm gonna try and homebrew a class, this is not likely. As I am not used to homebrewing, and I don't think I would be particularly good at it, I would probably make that class. Because I just love the idea of stances that you want to swap between, that you have different incentives for swapping for. It's just cool. And honestly, actually, wait, no. I might actually, the other kind of class that I would love to have is, and this I don't think would be a martial. And it is almost certainly never going to exist. Even, like, me homebrewing, because it doesn't work in the normal scope of 2e. It just doesn't interact with the rest of 2e systems well. Would be, basically, the idea would be to take attunement from Starfinder's Solarian. So you, basically at the start of combat, you slowly generate points, which I would personally want to represent as focus points. So you always are at 0 focus points. You cannot refocus. However, every turn in combat, at the start of your turn, you gain a focus point. That then you can use for different abilities, and then you add in, like, hey, this is like a feat that you can only use whenever you are, whenever you have focus points. It gives you an action, you get a certain benefit until eventually you no longer have focus points. Something like that could be interesting as a class. So it's all about, like, building up to big moments, which is honestly, out of all of the I've only played 2 classes, or I've technically played 3 classes in Starfinder, but also this is going to take forever, isn't it? Oh my god. Well, that's what you get when an enemy has 3.7 million health. Also, if I don't damage him for 10 seconds, he's going to regenerate all. That's how shields work. Which is why I'm trying to be very safe here, because he will also kill me really fast. I just have to do consistent damage. Oh god. Oh no. All of these circles could easily kill me. Or rather, get me down to the point where any additional hits will kill me. Oh no. This is very bad timing for a lag spike. Thank god I was able to re-up the damage. Oh no. I almost just died. I almost just died again. The sequel. But I've only really truly played Solarian and Starfinder. I've played a couple of sessions of Operative and literally one session of Vanguard. I think Vanguard is absolutely amazing. One of my favorite class designs in, like, the Paizo-verse. It's just a cool idea for a Constitution-based tank class. I think that they did a really good job with the Champion as a tank class, but Vanguard does it a very different way that I think is really cool. Also, the flavoring of your entire class works around the forces of entropy. And that's just cool. So basically, I've mostly played Solarian, and I loved the aspect of Solarian where fights in Starfinder can take a little while, especially when compared to Pathfinder 1e, which is what people compared it to at the time because 2e wasn't out yet. Really, combats between Starfinder and 2e take around the same amount of time, which is dramatically longer than the, like, average 2 rounds of Pathfinder 1e at high level. Over stealth kit. Oh, that's gonna be frustrating. It's gonna turn invisible soon. Ow. Because now it would be... Oh, Focus Crystal, that's terrifying. That's a 20... No, that's more like a 100% increase if I'm close to him. Which I will be, because I can't actually shoot at him from far away. Because of silly Huntress stuff. Basically, Solarians, over time, in combat, they attuned to, like, the stellar energy of the cosmos. Which mean that they built up, like, attunement to stellar or graviton. Which gave them, like, it was like, solar energy gave them a bonus to damage rolls, and graviton gave them a bonus on reflex saves. But then you could use different actions depending on what mode you're in, so like you could coat your blade in solar plasma to give yourself bonus damage, or like control your personal gravity to fly around in graviton mode. But then you had like Cataclysm, just like big finale abilities, which used up basically you became fully attuned after 3 rounds. And then I am surprised that I didn't mess up while talking. Basically once you were fully attuned after 3 rounds of combat, you could do a big thing that involved it. So the base ones were like pull everyone close to you in graviton or explode for supernova, but you get stuff like move at the speed of light up to like 1,000 feet away, or create warp gates that you can walk in between. And that was just incredibly cool class of building up to huge crescendos and then starting back over again that I would love to see in 2e at some point. But it is complicated in a way that I think that 2e tries to avoid. So I would be shocked. But I'm hopeful. Ever want to make an official conversion of Starfinder to Pathfinder 2e, Paizo? Hey? Well, probably not, but my voice is screaming out for release, so I'm going to be ending it here. This has been a very fun stream. And yeah, so I guess until I see you next, live a wonderful life.